My guest today turned down a plea deal, went to trial, and was sentenced to over 50 years in prison, then spent years fighting from behind bars until he got that sentence reduced to 10. His name is Anthony Baptiste, and this is how he fought back.
I grew up in Long Island.
Oh.
Yeah, Suffolk County.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your upbringing like?
My upbringing, it was not bad, to say the least. I come from, 2-parent home, hardworking family. My basically my heritage and stuff is I'm Haitian, so I had some hardworking Haitian parents, and they did what they can and stuff like that. And I can't, wasn't like broken home or anything like that, and went to school, did sports. I was in sports, and a lot of people don't know this. I was even like, in the honor society at one point, right? You know what I mean? So I say, my upbringing was not like doesn't have any of the cliche stories and stuff like that. And it's funny because I just seen a podcast from Big Meech was getting interviewed, and he was like kind of trying to talk about like how he didn't come from like a broken home or anything like that, but he did witness how his parents struggling doing things the right way as well. And it just kind of resonated to kind of like to what kind of probably gave me my motive to do the things I did as well. Because, I mean, you can call it the American dream. Everybody want more in life or should want more in life, but not all of us got the education or the knowledge on how to go about it. So we might just see the closest things to us to get to that same kind of happiness. So, yeah, that was kind of, that story just resonated and kind of, for people that can't understand, they think the story has to be, oh, no, come from this kind of environment to XYZ, meaning and end up doing this and stuff like that. And there's different reasons for different things,
What was your parents' background?
Well, my mom was a nurse, and my father for years was doing the taxi business. He was driving yellow cab and stuff like that, and also mechanic. And then as he got older, he started also getting into the medical field. And yeah, right now they're both retired in Florida right now.
So did you guys struggle financially, or?
Well, nowadays it's like, well, more than ever, I mean, you could be at certain levels and still be living paycheck to paycheck, right?
I guess it depends on your living situation.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So as you acquire more, you want more. So before I moved to Long Island, I was in Far Rockaway, Queens. So my mom and dad's motive was to say, all right, let's get out of here and now go buy this house and stuff like that. So what comes with houses comes with mortgages, right? So it might be someone making the same amount of salary as you, but if they're living a certain way, then they could live more comfortable. So, we had a nice 2-story house with a basement. And it's just now it's like society kind of forces you to kind of chase your tail, right? And it's like sad, like, even you hear a lot of people say, like, even though they right above that mark that they can't get like food benefits and stuff, but you got a lot of people that got great jobs that's still kind of struggling. So was it financially struggling within the norm? It was like, so it's like when you see people, you see people on TV, you see people around you that's able to just like kind of take a trip and whatever, or be home and not working 60, 70 hours a week, but could be home with the family and stuff like that. Since a young age, I used to see this stuff. I mean, to work in 2 jobs and things like that just to acquire, to keep up with this lifestyle. And it wasn't like it was a lavish lifestyle, but I mean, it's what society kind of puts on you,
If we had your parents here today, how would they have described you as a kid?
Oh, they would describe probably like it makes sense, like being this hard-headed and stuff like that, kind of like why I didn't take the plea or why I didn't do this and that. Just a vibrant kid, I'm everywhere running around. Like, I said in another interview, like how like probably my first words was probably money or something, right? Because it's just like I always loved big things. My imagination was always vibrant, Like when parents would come look for me, like, yo, where this kid's at? And they'd see me outside sitting on somebody's motorcycle, just, and it's like that same imagination, that core being of myself is kind of what led to just now you see in a more mature version of that is kind of like just having visions and just kind of like willing to chase those visions and stuff like that. So it does everything that's kind of tied. It's like, yeah, my mom would be like, yeah, this is Anthony right here, you know? So yeah, that's definitely how, me growing up, that's how it was,
Do you think you had an entrepreneurial mindset as a kid?
Yeah, absolutely, and I just, it's crazy because like it's not like I was like, all right, I'm gonna grow up and just be a hustler or something, right? So my whole thing when I was looking at it was like, all right, yeah, being that big businessman and stuff like that. And even before even that, it was just like, I just wanted nice stuff, right? I just want to be successful. I want nice stuff. But at the time of thinking and stuff like I could think for myself and was like, you know what, I want to go to school for business and stuff like that. But that seed, if nobody's like watering that seed, then it's not going to be, it's like, it's hard. And I kudos to anyone who really just took their life in their own hands and was like, listen, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to listen to anybody. But when you do have people kind of like, it's not their fault, like discouraging you to kind of take chances because they're programmed to just always play it safe. So what's the safe route? Go get a job in the medical field. Go do this. No, just, go to school and whatever. Not saying there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're the chances of you trying to be a millionaire one day versus you want to get a $80,000, $100,000 salary is a shift in the mindset of what you prioritize. So even if you go to school, what is your motive of going to school, right? These are things that I'm figuring out now that I couldn't, like, the idea of like, all right, I'm like looking at salary like $80,000, $90,000. I mean, damn, how can I be like that guy who got a $100,000 car though, who's on a jet and stuff like that, but not knowing how to get there. So that like friction, it's like, okay, I did go to some college, but it wasn't something like my mind wasn't really shifting on that. So what I seen, the closest thing to what I looked at success was people hustling, was people on the street doing whatever they're doing. Now at that time, what seemed big to me, which is a little, nice Benz or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like all this superficial stuff that, you could get your hands on, but that's what success looked like to me. And that's what kind of led to, what transpired to wanting more, bigger things. You put your pinky toe in the water, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, it's not too cold. Put your whole foot in there. And before you know it, you're in the water up to your neck. You know what I'm saying?
When do you think was that first moment you put the pinky toe in the water? When you tested the waters?
I started selling weed. Now, my motive was the clothes. So, I got traditional. My mom wasn't too bad. My dad, you know what I'm saying? He's a traditional Haitian parent. He wasn't, now everybody's wearing baggy clothes, right? But back then, he's like, you're not going to be walking around wearing this baggy stuff and all that. So he couldn't understand that, right? So it was like especially going to public school and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So it was times when I was in middle school, 6th grade, 7th grade, getting picked on just because of like what I'm dressing and stuff like that. So a lot of back and forth fights and things like that. And being in Long Island, Suffolk in those times, even before like middle school, like it was mostly like white kids. Before it was like a big migration of just like more cultural people, like more cultures coming into Long Island, Suffolk and stuff like that. So just becoming a big target, it was a big chubby black kid coming from Queens, you know what I mean? Here, got some steel-toe Payless boots and stuff like that. To me, I thought it was cool and stuff. But as you're getting older and stuff like that, it's like then you start seeing fashion and stuff like that. And, I get it. My parents wasn't like in tune like that and really know what's going on. So now I understand where their mind was at. Listen, dress presentable, mature, but, that's cool for a grown-up. I'm a kid, so I don't have to really follow those rules yet, right? So then it's like, listen, I got to figure out how to get it myself. Right? That's always been my mentality. I don't have the people owe me something. It's a privilege anytime I get something from anybody. I won't waste time dwelling on what someone could have did for me versus using that energy like, all right, let me figure out the solution and how I could get it for myself. That was how I could get it for myself, right? So my first thing was I just want to get this North Face jacket. Everyone, with the snorkel, even when they just came out, this is like, just late 90s, right? It was like when they really just started like popping, like, I want to get a snorkel North Face jacket. And I started smoking weed like in like 8th grade. I'm telling you, I was like a real typical kid, like suburbs, right? I mean, it was after a breakdancing competition, right? Talent show, we won first place, right? Got introduced to smoking weed. The entrepreneurial side of me, though, was like, coming down the line, I see everyone smoking weed. I mean, shit, I'm buying weed with my little $5, $10. Why won't I be the one collecting the money? So it's all logical business ethics that led to me doing unethical things. You know what I mean? And I started with just a jacket, 8th, 9th grade. And then from there, like, you know what? I want some sneakers. And then that's just been transpiring, and, your eyes get bigger. You start to pay attention to more what's going on. You start paying attention to the people that you see is making more money, doing more things, and like, okay, now you're in the trade, right? So that was like kind of like the gateway drug into hustling for me. And that's kind of where it started.
Who are you learning from? Is it gang members, or are you kind of riding solo? What did that look like?
Nah, it was just me just paying attention outside my house. Around me is a bunch, it's hustlers and stuff like that. A lot of kids just older than me, so I'll just step outside and you see it, right? If I'm like hanging out with certain kids and their older brothers are doing stuff like that, and I'm just attentive. I'm always paying attention, always trying to calculate, put this big head to work, trust me, and that's kind of where I'm learning without someone formally educating me. I'm just kind of like the fly in the room kind of person, and absorbing and then trying stuff out myself.
What do you think was the first major lesson you learned in that life?
As far as like lesson to kind of like in pursuing it, or like
any type of lesson during that time period in the streets, dealing with the streets specifically.
The lessons I was learning was really like business one-on-one lessons. That's universal, right? You gotta have that the petty cash, right? Things don't always work out as smooth as you want it to work out. That was so it's like a lot of business fundamentals I learned from hustling in the street. And I used those same principles, those same dealing with people, salesmanship, right? Logistics, right? There's like multiple lessons that you actually learn in a formal classroom that you'll learn from hustling. And there's something somebody said the other day online too, is it's like, it says entrepreneurs, unethical entrepreneurs. And that's really what it is. And if a person know how to shift that same energy into doing something legit, I mean, some people don't know how much they'll prosper in doing that. So
if you had asked your parents for the North Face or the shoes, would they have given it to you?
No, they would have been like, how much is it? 300 what? Boy, you better get that jacket right there.
What if you had told them that you would have, ended up selling drugs and getting, a 4 decades prison sentence? Do you think that would have changed their mind?
They would have probably been like, all right, let's see what this belt's going to do and change your mind first if you're going to do that, This is before like this is when it was okay to whip some discipline to your kid, right? They wouldn't even know how to really like respond to that. Like, what? But if they knew it was to be truthful and honest, then my parents would have definitely made the sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? If they like to put it in perspective, like they was like, oh no, this is what the future looks like. This is what happens. I'm a seed of my parents, right? Especially my mom being the voice of reason and stuff like that. No, and my dad would have been like, no, if they knew that was really the reality, of course, their ego or whatever caused the XYZ would not have superseded them to like, nah, give this kid this jacket. Now it's like, I have like a little brother, right? And it's like, it's evolution through time. So my parents come from Haiti, right? And with a lot of, not even just Haitian cultures period outside of America, there is usually a more strict culture when it comes to raising kids, right? That you find in other cultures versus in you come to America and see so as they came out here, they were more strict with my older brother than they were with me, and less strict with my younger brother less strict with my younger brother than they were with me as well, right? And start realizing this strict, rigid way of raising your kid is not the way to do it. You know, now with technology and stuff like that, you're able to understand things. You understand mental health. You understand these. You go to certain countries, they're not talking that kind of language. You know what I'm saying? It's like what, like yo, go take care of your stuff. They're not hearing the okay. I understand that there's all these things going on and really stuff like that. So it's a level of ignorance, not in a bad way, but we grow and evolve. You know what I mean? So you have certain people that's been here for generations and they understand these things. But when you have people just coming from other countries and haven't had the time to really like sit down and learn these other aspects, right? Give some space for your kid to grow and stuff like that. Then it depends. Then what happens is, depending on the kid's personality, they're going to be rebellious. Are they going to conform too much and put themselves in a bubble? You know, right? So it's like, you know, so it's like this stuff people don't really know, right? And until they don't know what you don't know. And yeah.
How does it progress? Where do you go from selling weed to then what?
So in my story, the progression just happened from like around me. I used to see. I know it's like there was some kids around the corner, whatever, around the way. It was older cats and stuff like that. I knew they wasn't selling weed, right? And since I was one of the kids selling weed, people smoking, I'm selling to people that's also selling other stuff, right? And I would just started really paying attention to what they're doing. And as I'm paying attention to what they're doing, it's like, yeah, I want in. I mean, I'm a overly ambitious kind of person, right? You know what I mean? And once I seen that, it was just like, all right, take that first leap off the porch. So I knew someone from, you know, across town who had an older brother, was selling some, like it wasn't like, you know, I got arrested for heroin and stuff like that. So when I was, the transition from weed was from weed to crack. And this was, now we're talking like the early, like 2000s. And that's kind of was a thing, you know? And like the whole heroin thing, that was just more recent before I got incarcerated. That kind of just started coming around. I mean, as far as in my reality, right? And I just found me a little something, had a little conversation on how or what. And that was with, you know, my friend. You know, my friend on like, yo, what's up? So he kind of knew a little something about it. I was like, listen, I got this. What we gonna do with this? Whatever. And just started from there, you know, just kind of seen someone I used to, you know, when I used to go outside, I used to see some kid, some older guy riding his bike downtown. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's doing whatever. You know what I'm saying? And just one day, like, just stopped him, like, yo, here, look, got this. And then from there, it just kind of took a life of its own.
Was there a high demand for crack in that era?
Yeah, absolutely. Crack, Suffolk County, Long Island. It was, you know, that was, you know, that's all I knew what was going on, you know. Like whatever else was going on outside of my world, I couldn't tell you, right? But I'm pretty sure, I think I could say that was like more the theme, because there was really nobody else I really like I said, I don't know what other people was doing outside of what I knew, but that was more so what I was seeing was actually, anyone I seen that was actually successful doing what they was doing, it was crack.
Was there a lot of competition in your area?
Well, I mean, there's competition everywhere, but you don't know what your competition is. It's not like the city, like, you know, like, I don't know if the city's still like that, but you know, you see on TV, like you stand on the corner and you got people coming. I'm in Long Island, man. That's not how people are hustling from, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you're driving around, you're running around, you know, got the beep back then, you know, you got the beepers or whatever, you're working with the phone or whatever you're doing. So as far as competition, you don't necessarily even see a competition. Everybody's competition who's in it. Only the person you're serving is going to probably know who's your competition or not, to a degree, right? Especially if you're doing like street level sales. And, you know, so like if like the era of people hustling on the streets in a city or something like that, you know, you see a competition like, oh, yo, who's coming on my block? Yo, who's this dude coming on my block? It wasn't that kind of thing, man. I was a Long Island hustler. We didn't hustle like that at all. You know, it was a whole different type of world.
Was it dangerous with people that were hustling as well? Like if you stepped onto their territory, or was there enough business to go around?
Well, my personal experience, it was kind of smooth when it came to that. I'm pretty sure there's definitely people got stories, and then, like I said, the difference between like doing probably street level hustling than doing things like as far as being a supplier and stuff like that. Pretty sure people that was in that caliber, which that was never my thing, is now it's more demographic, right? Because then it's like you're not dealing with customers that's actually doing the drug. You're dealing with regular people, right? So now people could probably talk. Now it's like I could see how that could turn into, hold on, so who you reading up from? You know what I'm saying? Or who you guys reading up from over here? Oh, now you're not hollering at me. So that ends up becoming like the bigger you get, the world might get a little bit smaller versus it's more scattered when you're doing street level drugs. And I can see that becoming territorial. But in my world, I wasn't about supplying people. It wasn't, I was just really, it's how you envision and how you work. It may look small, but it's like you got to have a 99-cent store and be a millionaire, right? Right. So you don't have to be having a wholesale factory, selling bulk and just probably making 1 or 2 points off of something that's 15 points versus you could make 3 points that's costing you like 1 point, right? You know what I mean? So it's ever how you look at it in perspective. But yeah, but it's back to your back to the competition and thing. I think when you're more Long Island, I could say, like, I can't say is my personal experience, but I could see that being something like more concerned about territories and stuff like that as far as the suppliers, knowing like who is supplying the people around and stuff like that.
All right, listen up. This spring, I honestly went through my entire closet and got ruthless with it. I got rid of a ton of stuff that either didn't fit right, didn't feel good, or I just never wore anymore. I wanted to simplify everything and upgrade to pieces that actually look clean, feel comfortable, and make getting dressed easy. And that's exactly how I ended up wearing Quince so much lately. I actually have their super soft fleece pullover with me right now while I'm recording this, and this thing is seriously one of the most comfortable pullovers I own. I'm not lying. I'm not even joking around. The quality surprised me immediately. It feels premium, fits great, and it's one of those pieces you throw on once and suddenly wear nonstop because it works for everything. Traveling, the studio, going out, literally whatever. Quince has all the staples for spring too. Their 100% European linen shirts and shorts are lightweight, breathable, and insanely comfortable, but still look really put together. Same thing with their Pima cotton tees, ridiculously soft and just easy everyday pieces that instantly upgrade your wardrobe without trying too hard. Their pants are the same way too, relaxed and comfortable, but still polished enough to wear basically anywhere. And what makes Quince different is the pricing honestly makes no sense in the best way possible. Everything is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands because Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're getting premium materials and luxury level quality without paying crazy designer prices. After redoing my closet this spring, Quince honestly became one of the main brands I kept reaching for because everything just fits into everyday life so easily. Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/lockedin for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/lockedin for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/lockedin. You best believe next time I'm traveling, you're going to see me rocking my Quince hoodie. Now, as a street level hustler, what's your average sale?
There was errors, moments, depending on what it is, what was being sold. So we're talking about the time when, like, from the weed going into crack, you're saying? So, this is back. I was like we're talking like 10th, 11th, 12th grade, all that, from graduating. 11th grade is kind of when I started getting into that. It was like average, like Long Island, stuff like that. It's going from like $50 sales to $150, $200 sales. You might have someone that you're making a few $100s every couple of days, weeks, and stuff like that, So depending on where you are and your clientele and demographic, you're dealing with people that look like it's not like they're like broken out, strung out or something like that. These guys have functioning lives. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you're dealing with that era now. You know, it wasn't something, it's not like you're finding, like I said, I don't know what's, from what other people seen, but in what I'm seeing, these guys got businesses, got a family at home, and they're just partying on the side. You know, so it's not like they're not able to kind of maintain and balance their life. So yeah, depending on the clientele. I mean, you got some people that's probably $1,000 every few days, right? You know, and that's typical out there in Long Island.
Did you end up graduating high school and go to college?
Yes. So graduated, taking honors classes, did some college, but at that point, really, my mind was already shifting on these street dreams and stuff like that. Being young and dumb, you know what I mean? So I wasn't taking college serious, so I ended up just flunking out. Had a little moment. I was like, let me try to go back. So it was like, when you have that balance in your life, and that's why I thank my parents. I thank my parents and just thank having certain people in my life. You know what I mean? That's such a blessing that it doesn't allow you to go too much on the far deep end. So like for people that don't have nobody, like I can understand, like, I mean, your reality just shifts. So it's easy to judge someone based on the reality and the opportunities you had to look at someone else like, yo, why is he doing that? Why are he doing that? I mean, he'd probably be doing worse shit than that person was doing if he was in that situation or whatever that person was growing up in, right? So I'm just grateful for that now, seeing that, you know what I mean? So it's like always like, still had some type of moral foundation, even though me just being hard-headed and overzealous, I kind of would always step off of it and stuff like that. But something always was there to kind of like, don't go too far on the deep end. So I did try to go back to school. I mean, at one point I went back to school, became an LPN. So, right? So that's the whole seed in my head about like, my mom was always like, listen, make sure you have some type of security. You got something to do just in case you got something to fall on and stuff like that. Even though, because she knew I was just trying to take it another place. So it's like, all right, she understood who her son was. And I mean, that seed eventually did come around. It was like, you know what? It was kind of like a low moment for me. I was like, let me go back to school. And I ended up becoming an LPN at one point. So yeah.
Did they have any ideas that you were selling drugs?
My parents?
Yeah.
They had ideas, but they wasn't aware of like, it wasn't like, some people just open and play. I couldn't, man, I'm a person still ain't gonna really curse in front of my parents, right? You know what I mean? I still got that instilled in me, right? So it was not them seeing anything or something like that. I'm pretty sure it's just like, they just see the movement, see how I'm doing things, but nothing for them to visually see what's going on. And it's like, the drug selling wasn't, as I got older, the drug selling wasn't really just my main source of income. I mean, what people really understand, people that really know me know I've been doing parties since high school. And prior to me getting incarcerated is when that really just kind of bloomed, like it really bloomed to something else. And I'm getting involved. I'm involved in parties, 5,000 people, celebrities and stuff like that. And those was always just two different worlds, right?
Like as a promoter? Or?
As a promoter, I like to call it more like a event coordinator, just simply because the functions were getting so big that it would be something that you would need you put multiple promotion teams in place. And what the hustling was doing, it offset expenses in my personal life. So I could use the money that I had invested in the promotion thing, I could just keep on using that to grow. So this is my unethical way of really business strategy though, right? I mean, because these are the same rules that people do in the real business, right? But it's just, like I said, this was what I had and what I knew, right? But that's what that was. So even when there was like further investigations and things like that going on, it was kind of like, oh no, this business is legit. These wire transfers into banks and stuff like that, they were trying to sell a story like it's like, oh yeah, he's doing this and washing money. No, I have deposits coming in from clubs and stuff like that, $15,000, $20,000 from like just the bar receipts and stuff like that. You get what I'm saying? Like these are things that has to come from bank transfers and stuff like that. But it's so easy to sell that story because it's a typical cliche, like, oh, he's a promoter, oh, he's out in the streets. Oh yeah, no, there's gotta be it has to be more, it just has to be bigger than Nino Brown. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, and then, I'm just in my head just kind of like just calculating things and thinking like, okay, all right, how I could do this? Like, I'm aspiring to like, okay, I want to one day throw concerts and stuff like that. I was never inspiring to be no big drug dealer. Because if that was really the case, if I took all that energy and what I was doing here and put it in selling drugs, and really that's what my motivation, I mean, the stuff that I would have been doing, I mean, I would have been that person.
So what was your exit plan with the drugs then, if you were growing this event business?
Like every person's down for, right? When they say they about to get out and stuff like that, it's usually when it just crashes, right? And it's probably just a lie, because you probably not really wasn't going to get out. You just, in the back of your mind, that's what you want to do. Is I was at the verge of actually starting to get into doing concerts. So I scaled. So my promotion game, right, from even when I was doing small parties, with the imagination turning into having visions, right, was always to get to a point that I'm doing real big parties. So my idea was like, okay, a way I could be successful and doing these big things is I got to be a person like doing concerts and stuff like that. This was the vision from when I just started throwing parties. Now, a lot of my peers and people that was doing parties, they were okay in what they was doing because they were okay with what they was doing because that's where it wasn't really a vision. It's just that's what they're doing for the meantime. So I always threw parties just to scale on it to get to a certain place. Like it's like creating a storyline, right? So my vision was always one day doing concerts and stuff like that. So like once, like I had threw my birthday party in 2015, and I had Fabulous there for my birthday party, 2015. To me, like I say every time, I mean, it could be subjective, but I still think that was the biggest, best birthday party Long Island ever seen. I mean, it's what I mean? Like some people that was there could probably say the same thing, right? So that right there kind of opened the door to show like, oh shit, this kid could really coordinate something. Because it's usually always like, I was like always networking with other promoters and stuff. So it was like, I'd probably, even if some ideas was my ideas or some things was my investment, it's hard to tell who was really the person to really make it happen or really make that move or make that call, right? It was like blurry lines because there's so many people involved and stuff. So that was the first event that it was kind of like, oh, this is my birthday party. Listen, I'm going to lock this down. I'm going to get the artist, whatever case may be, get the promoters involved, who wants to get involved, and really like forefront and coordinate the situation. And it was a super success, right? From there, I just kept on building on that. That's, business 101, right? You got some momentum, you better seize the moment. And I've just been building off of that. Nas, Fetty Wap, everything like that. The network is getting bigger, the connection is getting bigger. And in the midst of that, what's crazy, and it's like, even from like my videographer, even my mom, like typical person, I'm always a person like in the cut, right? I come from a life that's you in the shadows. So I got no problem driving around in my little Altima. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the world I'm from, keep it low and stuff like that. I mean, it's probably a reason why, I get locked up for the first time 30 years old, right? But as this party thing is growing, being in the urban hip hop kind of industry, you want to call it, you got to kind of start matching your brand. So it's kind of like, listen, you got to get out the cut. You got to be on the camera more. Everyone else is in front of the camera. Everything got to put yourself out. So for marketing reasons, that's what's like, all right, let me go get the car. Let me go get the jewelry, right? And I could afford it, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm able to offset expenses as I'm growing my business because of how I got things managed, right? So it's like there's sophistication in this that they really didn't know, like, oh shit, this kid's really a thinker, right? This kid is actually a businessman. You know what I mean? Doing whatever he's doing. And with that came everybody looking. When I pulled out, man, I had when the A7 just dropped, you know what I mean? I had the A7 premiere package, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's something like for people that that was when that shit just dropped. A lot of people didn't even get to see that yet. You know what I mean? And then then it was like right then and there, it's crazy coincidental is when the investigation started. Now they're coming to see these parties. Like I'm at my birthday party. I mean, this is in Long Island. I'm selling tables 5,000 VIP section, sold out before the night even starts. You don't see shit like that in Long Island. But what that came from is understanding the culture of parties in the city. Like I was around a lot of people in the city and seeing like how mainstream promotion starts. I had an opportunity to scale it at one point I mean, not at one point, but continued scaling even from doing little bar parties in Suffolk County to actually initiating the biggest college party night in New York City. That was a club called Avalon.
I've heard of Avalon.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was 22 years old, college night Thursdays. I locked and secured that deal, right? And in there, that was my learning lesson on really now seeing how this mainstream promotion thing works. So it's like kind of paying for education, right? Because you just get in the game, I'm paying retail. I don't have the networks and connections, understanding the power of networks and connections. You know what I mean? That's how you offset expenses as well. And it's just like, that's where I learned, like, okay, this is how things are established a certain way. You know what I mean? The sub-promoters buying event properties off the radio stations, sponsors, and all that stuff. I'm learning all this stuff doing that. And that was just my big advantage in now taking that in my own personal world and trying to establish things in a certain way like that. So that's why I knew the investments of my brand dealing with artists and celebrities when doing parties, And yeah.
What were you making more from, the drugs or the event business?
The event business, well, the profiting in my own pockets was off the streets, right? But in growing my business, it was more capital involved.
Because you kept reinvesting it in the club business.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, we're reinvesting. We're talking about, I was paying, these artists was getting paid $20,000, $10,000, $8,000. So playing a bigger game with bigger expenses. So it was just a different, like I said, I never got into the world of like, there was no like kilos and stuff like that in my case, you know what I mean? So we are dealing with substantial amount of money to the eyes of some, but what we're building here has basically is able to grow legs way bigger than what I was basically for how far I was willing to take the streets. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously you can definitely make a whole lot of money doing the street stuff. But like I said, where I was willing to take it, it was capped compared to where I was trying to take this stuff right here.
Do you ever think, hey, I'm not going to risk my, blooming event business for continuing in the streets?
Yeah, and that's right when the crossover was about to happen, had some good conversations with certain people, and it was going to take it. It was really going into the world of going into the concerts. In my mind, it was telling myself like, yeah, I'm all right, this is it. Because like, you know what I'm saying? It's things just become a habit, becomes part of your regular normal routine. It's hard to just stop that, right? I don't care who you are, right? I don't care what you're doing. It's easier said than done when you're just in a flow of things. Your routine is X, Y, Z, and it's like, okay, just stop. More kudos to the person that really had that moment and just cold turkey whatever they did. But it was like, would that been the moment? I don't know. I think God and the universe knew that was probably a lie. It probably was just going to get even deeper. Probably was going to be another opportunity like, damn, you know what? All right, I made 1 to 3. Let me see, we can make 3 to 5. We make 7 to 10. You know what I'm saying? Right? Like, was that really? So it was like, I tell people the collateral beauty with the shit I had to go through and getting incarcerated was deep in my heart. I wanted to stop doing this shit. I knew it was unethical. And I tell you, I always had a moral compass because of my upbringing, good from bad. So this wasn't a mistake. It was just a series of bad choices that I chose to make. I mean, and yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you need to be physically removed from the situation.
Yeah. They say people, places, and things, right? I mean, sometimes you got to get removed from your own freaking, your own way, right? Not to say other people doing stuff to you, but for my case, how hard-headed and overzealous I was, it probably needed something at that extreme. And I mean, based on how things are now, I could say it was probably necessary, right? That's not to take away the bullshit that happened to me and what they try to do and what they did do, which I know we're going to get into a little later. But, I mean, I feel blessed every day waking up now. Going in there, man, I was killing myself. I was 300 pounds by the time, when I was younger, I was into sports and stuff like that. So I know how it is to feel good, look good and stuff like that. But then, and like I said, I was living the regular, typical kid life, wasn't, as much as I wanted all this stuff. And that's when I started rushing myself from taking away from my own childhood, trying to get into this grown-up game. But I remember how that feeling, the peace of mind, all these things I started acquiring back to understand how important it was. And like when people see me, they're like, wow, I look younger than all that stuff. It's just, feel like you get your spirit back. You know what I'm saying? Take all that toxic stuff out your life, toxic people, toxic way of thinking. I mean, you just it's like you really get your glow back, start taking care of yourself, things you're supposed to be doing. So a lot of us, we forget these things we were doing when we was younger that was like making you look like the vibrant little kid and all that kind of stuff, and you start just losing that. It's because the lifestyle changed a little bit, and what the collateral beauty to this, right? You know what I mean? To be here right now, Ian studio, right? You know what I mean? Telling a story that hopefully people could learn from and understand from and see how they could apply what I went through in their life to kind of alter probably their decision making, or probably just and still in a good position and still see how they could just find some more balance in their life and take away from probably start looking at things that's probably hindering them from even getting that peace of mind in their own success. You know what I mean?
Describe that day you got arrested.
So I was driving. Mind you, my girlfriend at the time was already telling me like, oh, females' intuition is different, man. I'll tell you that much, man. That's one thing. You just can't take that lightly, right? She's like, listen, I don't think you should go out. It's raining, gloomy. So I was like, that was really going to babysitting for a plate of grass and stuff, right? Now, look at this. It's crazy, right? In my mind, this is my last situation I'm going to do. It's fucking crazy. You know what I mean? I said that, but, and hell yeah, it was your last situation. It was the last situation that I was going to do, right? I mean, I didn't know it was going to be the last situation in that way, right? But dead ass, it definitely was, right? That's funny. I'm thinking about that shit right now. How that just played out. It's crazy. I'm just playing it back. Like, yeah, it was my last situation. I was like, I'm going to just do this, grab whatever. And, and this was all getting, honestly, it's crazy because it was majority of the stuff that I was getting found and stuff like that was based on the undercover requesting something, which, not to get sidetracked, but it's like, can't even use that as entrapment, right? Because legally, as long as you show that you have intent or the propensity to do something, it can't be entrapment. So I don't care if all day you've been selling 10 pieces of rock. They get you to sell a kilo, which that's not the case in my situation. I'm just saying how dramatic it could be. You can't say that, oh, someone entrapped you to go get a kilo because you was already selling drugs. That's the law, right? Mm. And so, yeah, so grabbing the stuff that day, whatever, driving, and then it was, the car was being followed. Went from Queens, car went to Queens, went to Long Island, and whatever, then it stopped, the car stopped, and as I was going back to my place, got pulled over. I got pulled over, it was, just regular blue and whites. Told me to step out, search me, and as he searched me, then it was just like, I just seen all the detective cars and everything like that. At that point, I still didn't even know the severity of the caliber was going on. I was like, all right, shit, whatever, got caught up doing some bullshit, right? But, like I said, I'm not out here freaking Suffolk County selling freaking kilos or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, how crazy could it really be, right? Went to the precinct. I'll go sit in the precinct forever, right? Come in there and start trying to ask me some questions. Like, kind of like, you know how it is. They're trying to get you to really just start admitting shit without even knowing that's what you're doing. And that's where people always fuck up. When they tell you you got the right to remain silent, people don't really use that to the fullest, highest extent, right? So, that question, I'm just acting kind of stupid. Like, huh? What do you mean? What's going on? Like, because as he's trying to get me to, I can see he's getting frustrated because as he's trying to get me to say stuff, I'm trying to see what is it that he's knows or what's really going on, right? So I'm not trying to be the one to leak any conversation. So I'm just like, see, he wants me to say certain things. So as he's trying to direct my conversation. I'm a thinker, right? So it's like as he's trying to direct my conversation, I'm learning and seeing what direction he's trying to direct it to, and that's how I'm narrowing down. Like, oh, okay, what's going on. But one big takeaway from that is that the second I was like, listen, I don't feel comfortable answering any questions without an attorney. Everything stopped right there, and he just kept it moving, right? That's how it's supposed to work in real time with everybody. Obviously, it don't. But legally, I come to find out in the future, I didn't really know any of this stuff at the time. Yeah, once you ask for an attorney, it's just a little legal one-on-one for the public, right? Once you ask for an attorney, they should not be asking you any questions. If you already have an attorney on retainer, they're not supposed to ask you any questions without your attorney. And that interrogation stopped right there. Fast forward, in the time of that little small interrogation, what they did do was another detective came in and was kind of like, listen, we're in your house right now. We know everything that's going on. We're at your mom's house right now. Everybody's going to right now we're going to have Channel 12 coming down. Your whole family's about to be on TV and everything like that. Now, that's when it got rough as far as like what decision to make right now. Because now it's like a poker game, right? You don't want to put your parents through that stuff, your family and stuff like that through that. But in just knowing how this game works, it's like, the second you write or sign anything, I don't need to be a lawyer at this point to know that, right? It's like, once you sign that dotted line, there's no fight. It don't matter what you try to say, oh, this is what happened, whatever the case may be. And just intuition. I was just like, listen, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what's going on, whatever. It's like, all right. And it's like leaving there, I'm walking out to go to court and just open the door. In my mind, I'm just like, damn, there's about to be a whole bunch of news stations there. You see it on TV all the time, right? Like I said, this all new to me, right? Like, oh my God. And it's like that hard, tough skin now. It plays in your, it played in my favor. Like the little hard-headed kid, that's what my mom would tell you. It was like, this kid's so freaking hard-headed. You know what I mean? And it's just like, open the door and it's just see nobody. What the fuck? So my mind thinking again, like, all right, so there is bluff games in this situation. And then went to court, the arraignment, right? First time going to court. So there was since I was little, took care of like little minor like traffic infractions for me and stuff like that. This attorney, right? Also, he has a couple of celebrity clients and stuff like that. So in the midst of just doing the parts and stuff, I just knew him. So I was the first person when they asked me, like, oh, do you have an attorney? I was like, yeah, reach out to so-and-so or whatever. Go in the courtroom. He's right there. He kind of just gave me a stare. I'm just like, yo, man, I don't know. What's up? So we go in the courtroom. We're both standing there. And now the ADA, the Assistant District Attorney for, I guess, the Narcotics Bureau, now she's talking and reading. That's when they just kind of summarize what's going on to give you a bail. And when I'm hearing her saying, oh, yes, Anthony's here serving a life sentence, major drug trafficker, part of an East Coast pipeline, this, that, and the third, I'm like, whoa, hold up. You can hear people even gasping in the back, right? I'm like, whoa. That was just like it's time to stop. You see in a movie, just everything just pause and everything.
Yeah, you come out of your body to look at it all. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, hold up, what's going on right now? And then that's when it just hit me like, oh shit, this thing is real right now. What's going on? And then the judge is like, yeah, we're gonna set bail at $5 million cash over $10 million bond. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Because you know what you're doing, you know what you didn't do, right? And I know I'm out here in Suffolk County. And I know what I'm doing and know what I'm not doing out here. Right? And then you're talking like, only time I hear stuff like that, like those kind of numbers and that kind of East Coast pipeline stuff, like I said, I don't know nothing about the law, but I just know I watched enough movies and enough TV shows and to know like, yo, you're talking like some Fed shit right now. What am I doing here, right? If this is what you're saying is going on. But it was just like, nah, that's when I learned the gravity of this shit was real. Like, whatever they're trying to say, whatever, like, no, I'm here right now. I'm not going nowhere. This wasn't I'm in the back thinking like, all right, let me brainstorm how I'm going to get the bail. Whatever this bail is going to be, I'm thinking it's going to be something that I can just get the fuck out of here, right? It's like, nah, I got to go back to a fucking cell. I'm here, really in jail. First time ever in a cell my whole life. Before that, the only thing I had was traffic infractions. You know what I'm saying? And a little possession of weed, like, so it was like, nah, this shit was real.
What were the final charges?
The final, it was 16 charges altogether.
Wow.
And but a lot of the charges were connected. So it's like for every sale you get a possession, right? So you times those by 2. So subtract those. So now we're at like 8 charges, right? Or like probably even less than that, right? I don't know how to do the math, but every sale was a possession. Then you had the major drug trafficking charge and a conspiracy charge and 2 charges of paraphernalia that I was found not guilty for. And basically all those was just with undercover, those sales, possessions, you know what I mean? Basically, like I said, so a lot of those charges came in 2s, which made it stretched out, you know? So they have a thing they love to do is overcharge you. And I know you're familiar with that, right? So they overcharge you. So you have people that got 90 charges, and then when they take a plea agreement, they just end up pleading out to 1 charge and do 7, 8 years, right? 5 years to whatever that 1 charge is, as part of like what compared to like having a settlement in a lawsuit. So, however, when you go to trial, this is the takeaway. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, that's why I just never encourage people like, oh yeah, just go to trial and fight your stuff. That's a personal decision a person has to make based on what you feel in your heart, but also what the case looks like. You know what I'm saying? Because even if, like, you're like, oh no, this happened, it didn't happen like that. That's cool, but you have a prosecutor and you have a system that's gonna try to sell a story, regardless of what you're saying happened or something like that. So you got to make sure your shit is iron tight. Not just iron tight, you got to make sure that you have a lawyer that's going to advocate for you. This is a system, you know what I mean? This is a system. It's a business. It has politics involved. You know what I mean? The climate of what's going on in the society at that certain moment plays a big factor. You have people that have, you know, they got votes they're trying to get into. So it's like you have to take all these things that I learned after the fact into consideration. You know, and sometimes people will fight with their lawyer and like, oh, no, what you doing, whatever. It's like, why aren't you saying this? Why aren't you saying that? And then you start to learn this is like a chess game. They call it, the phrase is like opening the door. Okay, I might say this. However, if I say this, then listen, there's a bunch of stuff that they're going to be able to say about this and open the door to this. Or it might be something like, okay, that happened, but we have to be able to prove that. You just can't say this happened, and able to prove it. Like, there's a lot of dirty shit I found out on my case. I don't even talk about it, especially while things are in the court right now, because I don't have the paperwork to prove it. But there's levels to the bullshit that happened in my case. But until I could find some hard evidence to really say, and that's just like I was telling you before, you know, while incarcerated, I became a certified paralegal. So I started really understanding, even before being a paralegal, just trying to understand the science of how this legal thing works to even actually play the game.
Did you have co-defendants?
I had 1 co-defendant.
Did he snitch
Oh, I'm sorry. I had 2 co-defendants.
Did they snitch on you or?
No. I had no one go to trial. I went to trial independently. He ended up taking a plea deal. You know, formalities, part of a plea deal. Just saying, yes, this is what happened. It's something I don't consider snitching. People try to make things always seem like that, but 95% of people in the world takes a plea deal, right? My girlfriend at the time, she basically had a facilitation charge misdemeanor. So
for what? Setting you up with someone or?
No, well, facilitation was a misdemeanor. Basically, as long as she has knowledge of what you're doing, and she helped to facilitate, and so her driving me is enough to get a charge.
They really charged her? Or are they trying to use that as leverage? Or it
was, well, that's the intent, for leverage, to sell the story. So if at the beginning they don't know what they're going to bring to trial, so they're trying to set everything up, they're trying to, you know what I mean? What is it, cross your T's, dot your I's and stuff like that? So yeah, so if need be to support anything in the future of, like, say, me going to trial, which I end up doing, yeah, you want to get as much stuff going on. So that would be leverage to say, like, oh, yes, I drove him to XYZ that night if needed, if it was going to be needed for trial later on. So, yeah, that's really what it's about.
Did they ever give you a good plea deal?
I mean, in my eyes, no, right? in what was the severity of what they was trying to charge me, which is bullshit. you would think it's a good plea deal. It was like 8 years, 7 years, what it was, right?
Oh, 7 years total.
7 years, right? In being overcharged as a major drug trafficker and being life sentence, stuff like that, right? So my logic, not fuck all the legal shit, right? Logic. If I was never supposed to be charged as a major drug trafficker, then how is this considered a good plea deal for something that I never was supposed to be charged for? So if that's the case, if I'm supposed to be charged for 7 years, then okay, if that's the reality, then what's a good plea deal to that 7 years?
A couple of years, like 2 or 3.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then that's what's supposed to be, we're talking. I have it on the transcripts. One thing that's what I did too, I had my parents, my pops help me out with that. Shout out to pops. Buy my transcripts on every particular court date that certain things transpired leading to trial. And I have all my transcripts from my trial, right? And you hear me trying to negotiate this thing, willing to take accountability for what I feel I'm supposed to do for what crimes that I know I'm done and what you guys are aware of me doing. And said, listen, give me 3 years right now, I'll take it. Okay. In their minds, not understanding they're dealing with a hard-headed, smart kid, right? It didn't transpire yet. It's transpired on the surface, but it didn't really transpire how deep, like, who I really am. You know what I mean? They just like, okay, look, it's like, I think we're breaking him. No, I'm having a real negotiating conversation with you. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm having a real conversation with you and figure out how we could settle this whole situation right now. You know what I'm saying? And then Isaac could only see like, oh, nah, all right. You see, he's about to fold. All right, let's see how far we can take with him. Yeah, right? And then as you're doing this, you're just like, more things are transpiring that's making it even like, oh, hell no, I'm not taking this deal. It's like, it's crazy how the universe works, right? And, you know, some people call it universe. I call it God, right? It's like every time that I was about to take a plea deal, something always happened to have me not take it. And that's the parts of it that people was like, yo, why are you crazy? Why wouldn't you take this stuff like that? But you had to be in my shoes and really see what it was. And me kind of connected with that, you know, gut feeling, that conscious feeling, that, you know, the spiritual side of things is like, it's like, oh, no, I'm not taking it. Like, for example, like I'm walking to take a plea deal. Now, I was told that my co-defendant, the first time, he did eventually end up copping out, right? But I was told prematurely that, oh yeah, your co-defendant took a plea deal and stuff like that. Basically to tell me like, listen, they're saying, you know, he allocuted, said, yeah, he did this, whatever. So trying to put this fear in me to take this plea deal. As I'm walking, you know, we got like, they do like a little chain gang thing going from the jail to the court through a tunnel. And I'm talking to my boy from the town, and I'm telling him like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna take this plea right now. Boom, boom, 7 years, whatever case may be. Fully ready to take this thing, accepted it, slept on it, like, damn, you know, if you never did a day in jail, you sound 7 years. I don't care, you know what I mean? People are like, oh, word, that's all what do you mean that's all? It's fucking 7 years. You serious? You know what I mean? Like, 7 years, I gotta wear this big F on my forehead, right? To someone who got a bunch of them, they don't give a fuck, right? But I'm saying, you know, like I said, I still am grounded in regular society, right? I still have a reputation. I'm still here. There's a reputation that I don't need people. I also don't want people to feel that drug money is what basically was investing in the stuff that I was doing parts. Because now you have people else that feels there might be some liabilities in whatever stuff they're doing just being around me, right? So when you have these things going on, you start thinking different. Versus like, all right, fuck it, just get an F, just go to. No, I know this. I know what that shit means. You know what I'm saying? I know what that alters your position and status in life. You know what I'm saying? That's not something you take lightly, right? But made the decision like, fuck it, I'm here. This was going on. 7 years. As I'm talking to my boy, someone else comes in like, yo, are you Baptiste? Anthony Baptiste? I'm like, yeah, because he's overhearing what we're talking. He's like, yeah, I'm with your code D. Like, he ain't take no plea deal. I'm like, what? I mean, this is the first time, right? Like, what? I'm like, all right, hold up. You didn't take no plea deal yet. Like, all right, cool, whatever. Chain gang go to court. Now, before going inside the courtroom, you know, you see a lawyer and stuff like that. And then I'm like, talking to my lawyer. You know what I mean? And, you know, and he's like, He's like, all right, so look, we're gonna go in there. I'm like, yo, hold on for a second. Yo, did my coach take a plea deal? And he's like, what? What are you talking about? He's like, nah, you take no plea deal. I'm like, hold on. I was fucking told that you took a plea deal. I was like, wait, what's going on right now? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, regardless of who and where, now feel like I'm getting lied to. Now my reason to make my decisions is could be based on false information. I don't operate like that, right? You know what I'm saying? So like, it's like, fuck the fear. Ain't no fear. It's not about a fear. This is about a rational decision in a calculated situation, right? And, so now he's like kind of like getting a little belligerent a little bit with me. Listen, don't play with these guys. They're going to da-da-da. I mean, he's not lying though, right? You know what I'm saying? Yo, they definitely gave me fucking 51 years to life, right? You know, I understand where he's coming from, knowing the system and know how they work, right? So before, it was more so like, you part of this shit too. Fuck that, you fired and all this stuff. It did. That was my mind right there, of course, which, I mean, can't blame me, right? But being a non-judgmental person to just kind of see all sides of stuff right now. That's what I learned from being incarcerated in prison, right? The fear of what the fuck they might do to me, knowing I'm not a piece of shit kid, but I got myself in this bullshit. Yo, listen, just go fucking home, get your life. You know what I mean? Like, I get what he was trying to get at, and even like, fuck it, let's just get this kid because he's not gonna take no plea deal, right? Like, he's like him just knowing like the hard-headedness of me. He's not gonna just take a plea deal. We gotta get this kid to fucking save himself from himself, right? You know what I mean? I get that part, but however, I mean, there's a way to go about shit, and now sitting here being with you with a story like this to tell, I see that things was meant to be whatever it was meant to be, right? So that was the first incident I didn't take no plea deal. When the courtroom, like, listen, I'm being told this, XYZ, this is not what's happening. I want to fire my attorney. I don't want, no, because I'm being lied to. Fuck, like, you know what I mean? I done sat in rooms with club owners, nationalities that, whatever, you know what I mean? With different colors, races, and all that stuff, and negotiating deals. This is not nothing new to me, right? So that level of fear that comes with inexperience of being in certain rooms that could get intense and with someone that's more powerful than you, I've been there and done that. Times over, you know, and just doing the club business and stuff like that. In the streets. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with, like, so I know this stuff is like, it's not about fear. We're gonna get somewhere with it, right? So that was the first incident. Fast forward. There was another situation that they was like, all right, you going to trial, whatever, weeks later, whatever. All right, you going to trial, whatever. I'm like, all right, man, whatever. Now at this point, you know, I take my leaps of faith. You know what I mean? The shit I done did in my life you know what I mean? It's like I said, I don't fear too easy. You know what I'm saying? I don't say that to say it as a good thing or some shit all the time. You know what I mean? But I don't, right? It's like, all right, fuck it. We're already here, so let's do what we got to do. This was crazy. So they set me up to go to trial. I'm in the ball pens. You know, that's where you're waiting to go inside the courtroom and stuff like that. It's only me, and right across me in like the PC cell is some other big black kid, right? They called me to go inside there. Now they got the whole room set up for trial now, you know, versus just being there for a regular scene. So you got the ADAs at their table. My ex-lawyer's partner is sitting at the table, and I'm just now go over there. Now, I don't know shit about the law, so I come out with my Black's Law dictionary. Like, that shit's gonna save me or something, right? You know what I mean? Yeah, this shit is so funny. What? So we sit down, and then he's like, then the judge starts talking, like, hey, okay, yeah, so we're prepared for trial, getting ready for trial, and everything. And it's like, all right, so what ends up happening, a whole jury pool comes inside. My first time experiencing all this shit. This shit's like, holy shit. You hear the steps coming before they even, like, this shit's so like so theatrical. It's crazy, like, how this shit psychologically will, like, get you, like, oh shit, like, get you on some, like, the fear, like, get you on some, what the fuck is going on? Room fills up. I'm telling you, like, it's like, I don't know how many people, but it's the whole jury pool, like, probably 60, 70 people. And they're like, all right, everybody, yes, how you doing? We're going to do trial, XYZ, whatever. So after we come back from lunch, we're going to continue and commence the situation, right? So I didn't know that at that moment, but now looking back at it, the whole time all this is going on, they're trying to see my reaction. And they see me, I pull out my Black Soul Dictionary. Like, what the fuck is that gonna do for trial, right? You know what I mean? But fuck it, right? You gotta figure this out. You know, remember, this is the beginning of my faith, so I didn't really know about the law at that point, right? It's like, okay, so after lunch, whatever, they all go out for lunch. They bring room choirs out, settles for a little bit, not knowing they're trying to see how I'm reacting to this. Okay, all right, boom. After like a minute, two of just nobody saying shit, just kind of see people like taking a glimpse at me and stuff like that, whatever. All right, bring me back to the back. 45 minutes later, the kid that was across from me, they bring him out to go to trial and bring me back to my cell. So I'm in my cell. It's crazy. People don't know, but I actually really like dropped a tear that day. Like, holy shit. Like, kind of like, you know what I'm saying, really seeing the test of faith in real time. You know what I mean? Like, yo, these guys are, and I was like, that was really like now it was that moment like, oh, these guys is really fucking with me. What the fuck is going on with this case? Like, now it's like I'm not a conspiracy theorist right now. Why would you do all this shit? You lied to me about the whatever. You put me in front of a fake jury. And I heard that judge right now, I heard that he got fired for whatever prior reasons. That was probably my complaint. I also I did judicial grievance, whatever. Mine plus God knows how many other complaints probably piled up and something like that. So I don't know if he resigned. I got to fact check that situation. Shout out to Judge Condon. I got to fact check what's going on. But I think, I think he got fired. So I heard, or probably resigned, whatever. But I don't know. That's what I heard, right? But it's like, yo, now they're playing games. So now my confidence in digging more to figure out what's going on is just getting higher and higher. Have they would have just listened to me the first time when I was like, yo, I'll take 3 years. That was fair. Explain it, tell you like, all right, if this is what I really did and I'm supposed to take a plea agreement, then whatever. You're not going to overcharge me and bring the negotiation bar up here and say, okay, 7 years is whatever going to be. No, you're not going to do that. You know what I mean? If they would have done that, we wouldn't be sitting here talking right now. They could have been around their merry way. But egos, when you're doing dirty shit, right? I know we're going to get into what they did and stuff like that. Shit like this happens, right? So now it's just born down. Now, another big incident. And there's a lot of little, small incidents too. Because there's so many times like, that. I'm not saying I don't fear at all, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn, am I really doing this? Because the whole you can't see what's going on the other side of the door, right? That's what faith is, right? It's like, damn, all right, just trying to hold on to faith. Like, and in your mind, so it's like, damn, am I fucking playing myself? Like, this could really be the end of me and all this kind of shit, right?
And how much time is going on since the arrest to these court proceedings?
So I was in the county for 18 months.
Okay. Leading
into trial, right? And this is when all this is happening, everything that we're talking about right now. It didn't start transpiring itself. Matter of fact, in 6 months is where after the 6 month mark is where the first incident happened with they was trying to have me take a plea. And from there, there's been a whole roller coaster ride of them trying anything to kind of get me to take a plea agreement. So the other thing that happened that was a big stepping point that was like, oh shit, there's something crazy going on, is when they gave me something called an omnibus motion. This is like before you go into trial, your lawyer would submit a motion. Mind you, this time I got a new lawyer. It's an 18B. Basically assigned private attorney after getting rid of my private attorney. And it's like a motion that says like, all right, this is the kind of stuff, hearings we're trying to have, what's going on, just kind of giving a summary of what they think is the issues and stuff like that. In response to my lawyer's motion, these guys put some paperwork. Part of it, they said that, my rap sheet was given to my attorney and it shows that I had 7 prior felonies. I mean, I'm like, what the fuck you talking about? I tell you, it's my first time getting in trouble. Now it's like, hold the fuck up. With all this other bullshit that's going on, what's going on now, right? So it's like confidence in the faith just kept on building on itself, right? Like I said, and this is the first time people was like really hearing like, oh shit. Right now, if listening to this podcast, it's like, okay, this is the behind the scenes of what was going on, why this kid didn't do what he did, right? So I'm asking my attorney, he's like trying to brush it to the side, like, oh no, it's probably just a little error or something like that. little error. What the fuck you talking about? All right, need you to just navigate what's going on. All right, yeah. They just brush you to the side. They brush you to the side till the whole time it's ready to go to trial, right? Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. They'll yes you to death until you're ready not sitting in trial. And in trial, right? So like I said, those are like the main key little points, right? I probably want to drop a book. I'll put all the details in there or something, right? So going trial, I'm like nudging my attorney, like, yo, say something about the 7 priors. What's going on? So he tells the attorney, he brings up to the judge, like, yeah, my client wants to be presented, like, in the motion proceedings. The ADA said something about him having 7 priors. And he's going to say, like, oh, it's to my understanding, I don't think they take that position anymore, that he has 7 priors or something like that, right? So how it usually works in court is your lawyer says something, then the ADA says something, right? So the judge looks at the ADA. What the ADA is doing, he just keeps his head down, going through his paperwork. Doesn't say nothing. Then the judge, mind you, I got my transcripts. All this shit is really, you see this in real time when you read this. Then the judge says, oh, yes, and that's my understanding as well. XYZ. So hold up. So both of you guys are answering for the ADA. The best thing you could do is just keep your mouth shut when you don't want to. I mean, like if he was to say, oh, no, that's not XYZ, then that puts him in the hot seat, right? If it ever comes out, now you just lied on the record. You know what I'm saying? But he just chose to not say nothing. And this was kind of the games that was being played, right, throughout the situation, And these were, like I said, these were the reasons. That was just stemming from, like, why I didn't take a plea deal, which seemed to be fair and reasonable, and why it wasn't reasonable at all.
How long did your trial last for?
My trial, it was broken up, right? They kind of was stretching it out. It was intended for them to really make it hard to fight after this point. And I'm going to explain why. It's about like 2.5 months, I believe. I mean, I'll tell you right now. It started preliminary, like the preliminary phase with picking the jurors and stuff like that, started in August. I didn't get convicted until October and got sentenced in December. And by January 2nd, I was shipped to Clinton.
And with how much time?
With 51 years to life. Oh, let me correct. It was 46 years to life. And to add insult to injury, they miscalculated. They miscalculated. And it was like, oh, no, my bad. It was 51 years to life. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you for the fix up, right? So 51 years to life, I was sentenced. Maxed me out on everything.
What do you think hit you more, getting convicted or the sentence?
The sentence. Conviction was rough. When you're seeing 12 jurors like guilty, 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 right?
On every charge?
Except 2. The 2 lowest charges.
Let me guess, the 2 lowest ones came first, not guilty, and then you thought
no,
you
it
had it?
It was actually in the middle of it.
Okay.
It was the paraphernalia charges, and the crowd, everyone who knew about law, gasped, and even the judge's face was like, "Huh?" when they found me not guilty of the paraphernalia charges, because what the paraphernalia charges was basically the plastic bags and stuff that was used to bag up the work. I was found not guilty for, but I was found guilty for the work that's within the plastic bags. So what logic did the jurors really have? And that was something that, my lawyer brought up and stuff like that, but they, used the technically, legally, they don't serve the same elements and stuff like that. But logically, hold up. The wrappings the drugs are in, I'm found not guilty for, but the drugs that's inside the wrapping, I'm guilty for. How the fuck does that make sense? And what my lawyer was trying to fight was what they call a repugnant verdict, when just 2 things just don't make sense. But the legalese is that they have to share the same elements for it to be repugnant. So technically, it's not. I mean, that's something that probably could have went to the higher courts and could have been like, well, listen, in this circumstance, fuck all that sharing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's plain to see you can't have freaking drugs in a bag and not be guilty for the bags but be guilty with the drugs in there. So I was found guilty for the 2 lowest charges, the 2 misdemeanor charges out of all the 16 charges.
Yeah, that happened to me where I had some counts not guilty of fraud in the same time period. So how do those transactions not constitute fraud, but the other ones right after that do. It didn't make sense.
It don't make sense. And they hide behind the letter of the law. And that's what makes it the game, right? And it's like, okay, this is what the law says. So everyone who don't know how it like how it's like, oh yeah, he must be guilty. It says X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. Oh no, but then you have all these little variables. When you ask enough questions, it's like, hold up. It's like you start untangling the bullshit, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, I guess it is not as black and white as they say it is, or how they try to sell it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I feel like the jury just panics and they're like, let's just reach a decision, and they come up with whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So going into the trial now, right? In my case, my whole thing that basically what they was doing, so it was like 2.5 months. It was like broken up. Like, okay, it would be like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. All right, you get off Thursday, Friday. So stretched it out. Another thing they did was, and I'm learning and how this is all the behind scenes shit, right? They were wasting so much time talking about nothing. Just making that transcript longer and longer and longer. My transcript was 3,600 pages, right? I'm on fucking one person. You say I'm a one person major drug trafficker. Whereas first you done sold it like I got a ring, but technically you can be a one person ring, right? You see the news article like, oh, a major drug trafficking ring dismantled. What comes to your head? Like, oh, this guy had an organization or shit. Legally, you can be a one-person ring in New York State. Nobody knows this shit, right? Oh, conspiracy, whatever. Oh, dang, he had co-conspirators and stuff like that. Oh, legally, as long as you have one other person, it could be a two-man conspiracy. It doesn't have to be the pyramid and all the shit what you typically see with these things, right? So in the trial, even the judge came at one point like, listen, are we going to keep on playing these? Like they're playing tape like, oh, play minute 24 in this tape. Okay, go back and play minute 3. Okay, yes. It's like, okay, meet me here. Okay, yes, I'm walking right now. Oh, yes, right? Prolonging the whole shit to make it 3,600 pages, right? The reason of doing that part is because now, say when it comes to appealing my case, when you hire an attorney, the first thing before they even look at anything is like, okay, how much paperwork you got? 3,600 pages. Before they even could tell you a price on actually fighting a situation, they're going to gauge how much your retainer is going to be by how much work they got to go through. So if the rib's like, okay, just to appeal a case, all right, this is going to be like a $50,000 case. Meanwhile, it's a case full of bullshit. Like, you know what I'm saying? I know it's bullshit. They don't know that though, right? Ethically, they just can't take my word for it, and they got to go through the paperwork. So they jam you up from fighting your situation by doing shit like that, right? Like, it's crazy. Like, it's like, oh, wow, look at the art of this law shit, right? During my trial, this is the funny shit, right? Like I said, I don't got no hardcore evidence to say who, what, when, where, but I'll just let the public make their own opinion. So during the trial, because of some of the detectives had ongoing cases, they were able to close my case off from the public. And the only people allowed inside for majority of my trial, only people allowed in there was my parents. With that being said, when people would try to come to my trial, my parents would tell me like, yo, they had freaking people outside the door of my trial with freaking AK-47s. Like this was like I was a fucking like a mob boss or some shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like
you were a major drug trafficker.
Yeah. Oh, this is a major drug trafficker. Yo, this is so crazy. Like, no, nobody's allowed in here. My mom said they had people outside with fucking police with assault rifles and shit. Like the vision, but this is the game. You know what I mean? I call it, it's your life is on the line, but like, I mean, you can't be so emotionally tied to something if you're gonna want to play this shit. You gotta take it for what it is, right? So you could play what they designed. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the psychological aspect. So you got jurors coming, like you saying about, the jurors just want to get out of here, some shit like that. Boy, they don't know shit about the law. What they do see is all this theatrical shit. They see that shit like, oh no, this fucking kid, you're not saying nothing, right? And then it's like the chess moves, like, all right, do you want to go on the stand? No, go on the stand, you might open some doors and then they could, you know what I'm saying? So you better off just not saying shit sometimes. But like, yeah, but you got to. I mean, it sounds good, but I understand why some people don't go understand, right? You know what I mean? So it's like it gets a little complicated. Another thing, right? This is the crazy shit. So my dad, old school Haitian, think he's smooth. You always come with a suit on and stuff like that. That's, you know what I'm saying? That's what you do, right? I think he's a fly dude and all that. So, and he have his jacket on. Tell me why one of the jurors said that he found a note on his car saying that somebody in a black dude with a long jacket, put something under his car. So somebody said that they seen somebody put something under their car and left a note on their window. Right? Coincidentally, where this car was parked is the only place in the parking lot where the cameras can't see. We can't see the car. So they can't identify if this really happened or not. And they said, oh, the detectives looked under the car and stuff like that. So now you make it like, well, I'm putting fucking GPSs, I'm putting bombs in fucking people's cars and shit like that. Like, it's crazy saying this shit, right? But, I mean, for the jury that don't know nothing about me, didn't probably, if they even know that I'm out right now, or seem to be paint the picture just going through my Instagram, Tone Legacy, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh shit, nah, hold on. Now it's like, wow. But it's like you can't even fault the jury. They don't know shit about the law, but they know about this stuff. Another thing, one of the they targeted the minorities. They targeted the minorities so they could fit, like, you know what I mean? So that's probably the people that could probably sway the situation. So they're targeting to put a little extra piece of fear. In my opinion, if someone had to do this shit, right, to draw this story, I mean, I know it wasn't from my end. It's not something that I would be trying to do to myself, sabotage myself, right? Somebody had to be responsible for this shit. So one of the jurors also complained about she came outside, a car window was broken. Only Spanish chick that was on the jury panel. You know what I'm saying? What is all this? So now you're trying to say like I'm trying to tamper with witnesses and some shit like that. You know what I mean? Trying to create this vision that no, this guy is the big major drug trafficker and all this kind of stuff. This is what got me convicted. Because my jury had 42 jury notes. Typically, my lawyer and the ADA, as much as you think this is adversarial, are here just, they walk out, they're having lunch together and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? It's typical. There was a big thing in Suffolk County about that as well. How these guys are too close to each other, partying with each other, you know what I mean? Renting each other's boats and stuff like that. So it's nothing new. But they started having there was like kind of like a little bet, like all right, like if this case is gonna have the most jury notes or something like that. So I'm trying to learn like 42 jury notes is a whole lot of shit. That sounds like the jury that's trying to revamp the whole trial inside the chambers, because it was just all over the place. You know what I mean? You try to make sense of like, oh, like how do we sell this story of a street level dealer and make him look like a major drug trafficker by himself? The judge kept on reiterating every single time he's saying like, oh, don't look at it like anything just because he's by himself or whatever case should be. So you're leading the jury to how are they supposed to make their own independent decision, but you're trying to give them suggestions on how to draw a decision on the situation. And these are all the little details that people don't see. They might watch it in Law and Order and shit like that and don't understand, like, no, this is the little details that why it makes this, what I call makes it so sophisticated. What makes it a duel, you know what I mean, on both ends. The cleverness of your lawyer, the cleverness of the prosecutors, who could get away with. You know what I mean? It's like you playing a basketball game, like how many how many fouls don't get seen by the ref? You get what I'm saying? Until someone sees it. So it's like, you might call this shit right there, like, yeah, but someone on the other side did this and someone did that. But that's the game. That's the game. So you gotta learn how to play this game. You gotta learn, and taking them like the paralegal courses is what really opened my eyes on what this shit is like. Like when you gotta get paperwork, you can't expose your hand and do all this stuff and XYZ. Like, this shit was like, okay, now we're ready to play.
How did your parents react to the proceedings and your sentencing?
It was hard. it was hard on me knowing how hard it was on them. You know what I mean? Like, sit there hearing this shit, and it's like, I mean, to hear, even me, for me hearing it myself, but just imagine for them, like, when you really start replaying back some tapes and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? And at the moment, when you're probably having levels of frustration, dealing with people, like I said, with this toxic life comes a toxic mindset. You know what I mean? Just, you're not gonna never have no peace. I'm working clubs at night, running around during the day. I'm like, I sleep when I crash out, eating crazy. Man, I tell you, I was 300 pounds when I got locked up. You know what I mean? And levels, I'm already a person that's impatient. You know what I'm saying? Levels of frustration, stuff like that. But when you really sit down and hear yourself, and then now you already start reaching a level of consciousness because I was taken away from my old life already. But 17 months later, but we're playing back like, it's like hearing all your freaking dark secrets and shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn. It's like, it's kind of need that moment. But back to this, my parents, is just like, I could just, like, sitting there and having them go through that shit. It's like, you know, we're talking about, I don't got nobody in my family to say. I mean, you got some people that had encounters with the law, but I'm talking about this. I don't come from a family that this shit is regular stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, none of my brother's been through nothing like this. Parents definitely don't know shit about no freaking coming in court and stuff like that, only because of me. You know what I'm saying? So it was rough on them. It was rough on them.
Tell us about prison.
Prison, you know, you got jail with the county. Being in Suffolk County wasn't like Rikers. You know, especially that time. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely incidents of, like, you know, police fucking people up in jail at that time. But the culture of that changed. I seen that a lot because when I went back to court, you know, we're going to get into the time reduction stuff and all that stuff. I seen that they, you know, I guess the new sheriff and everyone that's in charge now, the administration now, it changed the culture a lot, but it was rough back then for certain people. You know, me personally, I kind of was like, stayed in my lane, so I really didn't have to deal with a lot of stuff that I've seen others deal with, which I take as a blessing, you know what I'm saying? Because I've seen a lot of shit. Going into prison, going to Clinton, right? It was definitely like, you know, because I went through downstate, which was temporary, nothing going on in there. Then went to Clinton. Now, Clinton Maximum Correctional Facility, that's the real deal. That's the real deal. Max Correctional Facility, prison. And that shit was like a dark, gloomy experience just getting in there before starting to get, like, acclimated to, you start playing, you know, say you did, you know, a few years, you know, day one is not going to be like a year and a half, 2 years later, right?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of got your system and routine, used to how this environment looks and stuff. But that shit looks so fucking gloomy and shit like that. I said this before to somebody else. It's like the stage in Mario Kart with the going into the castle and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? It gives you that kind of feel going up in that prison. So the first night that I actually stepped out, this is after you got like 7 days you got to stay in reception and stuff like that. You know, I don't know nobody except my boy. My boy is actually inside right now. I mean, my boy that I've come to know going to Clinton, named Bay Lloyd, you know, his son is actually a big artist right now named Bay Swag and stuff like that. You know, that's the only person I was like kind of hanging out with and stuff like that. And when I wasn't with him before really time, you kind of like, anyone knew, you could tell who's new because you're just kind of like walking around the yard. And freaking Clinton Yard is like the Coliseum of fucking prisons. It's like a big ass dirt field, and they got like stadium seating, like going mad high. Like, you know, it's like a cooking jail. So it's like sections. It's like sections, and each section it'll have its own like little cooking thing, like a barrel. You know what I mean? Like a real old school ancient barrel with exhaust pipe on it. You know, and that goes down. So it goes levels up, and then you just got a big ass dirt field. So it's like, he's walking around this dirt field. just whatever, cold. It's freaking March, mad snow still on the floor and shit like that. You know, you damn near Canada right up the block. But my first experience knowing like, oh shit, this is really jail. That night, I'm on the phone because they got the phones outside. And some dude not too far from me, guy just came up in there and just started stabbing him up. I'm looking at dude, and it's like, dude gets stabbed in the eye. I never, just being out, seeing some shit, seeing people shooting and all this kind of stuff. Been in a few little close encounters myself. Got stabbed in my back, whatever case for me when I was younger. But to see some brutal shit like that, like, it was like, oh shit, all that shit you see on fucking Gangland, and it's like, oh nah, this shit really, really happens, right? It was like, this was like, yeah. So it was like, all right, you're in that environment now. Throughout the prison experience, it's not every day shit like that's happening, right? I mean, like, of course, in the whole prison system, every day some shit's going on. But there'll be just moments when shit just erupts. And that's when it's like, oh shit. It might be a little gang war going on, little personal beef right here, something like that. And it'll just be like, it'll be cool for like a good time. Then it just gets crazy. So it just always keeps you like on your toes. You know what I'm saying? It's like always keeps you like on alert. Like, what's going on right here? Because sometimes it'll only be the few people that know something's about to happen. So it's like you got to figure it out, like, or find out, like, yo, what's going on, whatever. You start learning how to feel the tension. Like, you're not saying like how it's a sentencing. Like how the yard is like a coliseum, right? One of the big takeaways was, one of the big takeaways was that you'll see the dirt yard just clear up. And it'll just be like it'll be a group of like 3 people just walking, right? And it's fucked up because out of that group of people walking, one person don't know he's the fucking victim. But it's like the whole jail knows he's the fucking victim. And I'm like thinking like, how the fuck, it has to be like that because, it has to be like, how you don't know? But it's like, yo, it's like a level of secrecy to a degree that he don't know, but people are just now in the stadium seats looking down at the Coliseum. And it's crazy because anyone who been Clinton that's hearing me talk about this shit, they know exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? And they just walk around with this one dude. Before you know it, boom, somebody got cut, stabbed, and he didn't even know that was going on.
It's like the Hunger Games.
The Hunger fucking Games. That's a fact. Yeah, and it's violent. It's definitely violent, It's like, and what happens is people don't talk enough about that. So when people come home and there's just this level of glorifying this person that comes home, people start chasing that glorification and think like, okay, this must be some type of rite of passage or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And people are getting themselves involved in shit. And it's like, it's so sad. Like, you see a kid, I seen one kid, young kid, I'm in the county with him. Years later, he goes up north for whatever reason, he's gang member. Everything's cool, So in his mind, this is all fun and games. All the other gang members, you're in the county jail. Now, this is not Rikers. Rikers is a whole different kind of animal. In the county jail, so typical is cool. You're on the street, it's cool. Oh, yeah, you cool. Yeah, it's all cool. Then you end up in prison. Now, where this gang shit really originated for New York, there's really some rules that you have to follow and be part of. There's no, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. Like, this shit is real militant. This gang shit is real. People on the outside don't really understand how real it is until they actually go through that shit. You know what I mean? And I seen this kid, because after Clinton, I went to Greenhaven. So years later, to the point he don't even recognize me. I done lost mad weight. He don't even remember anything about me, but I'm seeing him, and I just see like his whole face is cut up, man. This shit was so fucking sad. Ain't seen him all these years, and see him later, his whole face is cut up, just mad cuts on his face. Now, the people that's probably just meeting him is just like, oh yeah, because you see that, you see that in there. It's crazy. Like one out of what? I'll say probably almost a quarter of the population got a fucking cut on their face. It became so like desensitized and normal. It's just like, oh yeah, like it's just so many people walk around with cuts on their face now and shit like that, right? But this kid's just cut up. So it's just like, looking at things in an abstract view is just like, damn, bro, you went into this, got involved with this shit. He's a fucking baby. You know what I'm saying? I'm 41 years old right now, right? So I'm looking at people that young as like fucking babies, man. I got friends that got kids older than this dude, right? And it was like, the time I seen him probably was like, had to be probably like 22, 23. God knows how much time he has. But it's like, look at what's going on. You getting involved with the shit that you're doing. And that's the reality of this thing that you see all the time in prison. And it's like, you see, like, that was me looking at the world outside of me. And it's like, it's things can happen to anybody because you just don't know who you're around. But a lot of times it's like, if you choose to carry a certain energy with you, then you invite certain energy to come around you.
Did that motivate you to keep out of trouble in prison?
My only motivation to keep out of trouble is me getting out. I wanted the fuck out of prison since the day one I got in there. And I wanted to utilize this time as much as I could to preparation so when I do get out. I was fully confident that God's gonna find a way to get me the fuck out of here. I refuse to believe that I was gonna do 51 years to life in here. And if I didn't have that insane thought process in my mind, every day would not have been as consistent as it was to lead to the moments of me stepping out.
How did you get yourself out of prison?
So after, I told you I was sentenced to 51 years to life, my appeal got denied, right? A few months after that, I submitted what they call a 440.20 motion. And that's in New York State. That's a motion challenging the sentencing. And in that motion, I basically was able to show how the consecutive sentence was illegal by law. Now, prior to me, well, I'm going to take it back in a second, but so with that being said, what it eventually ended up doing was the sentence that ultimately started as 51 years to life was reduced to 15 years to life, running consecutive charges concurrent to the top charge, which was the major drug trafficking, which as a first-time offender is 15 years to life in New York State. With that, I had to now, my second fight is having the counselors, Department of Corrections, understand what these laws are, that basically as a nonviolent crime, regardless of it being a life sentence, I'm still eligible for these programs that come with having nonviolent drug cases. So, I'm in Clinton, so anyone you hear with a life sentence, first thing you think of is like murder shit, right? So they just like, oh no, you got a life sentence, I'm like, no. I mean, this is a nonviolent drug crime, and this is what started becoming savvy with the law. I really kind of had to write up a mini motion, send it to Albany for them to be like, yeah, absolutely correct, and modify my sentence computation to show, so it shows that my earliest eligible release date is actually in 10 years, which now opened the door for me to be in certain programs that I needed to complete to be eligible to get what was called a merit parole, which allows me to do 2/3 of my time. So after 10 years is how I was released.
Wow. Did you find that any of the lawyers you hired or advocates fought for you as much as you fought for yourself?
And nobody was ever going to fight more for you than you fight for yourself. You do, that's a blessing that you get. And you can't even expect that from anybody. Can't expect that from nobody. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, this is my, how my brain think. I know there's definitely enough people in the world that think like me, right? You know what I mean? Like, why the fuck would I expect anybody to fight more for me than myself? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, how can I put that on somebody to think like he's going to, after he's done freaking going to Abu Dhabi with his fucking lady and some shit like that, or living in strip clubs and stuff like that, living his fucking life, and he has 20 other cases, and he got another client who's his cousin's best friend, and this guy's paying him $150,000 and stuff like that, that I'm so special that I'm gonna be on the top of his mind like me. That's the worst, and that's how most people end up getting caught up and stuck in prison. This expectation of, oh, yo, my lawyer's a beast, whatever. He could be a beast. Is he gonna be a beast for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, he could know the shit out of the law. How do you know what his priorities look like? So that's not to say don't have a lawyer, but you can never dictate human nature. I mean, a person could be the best of the best and not do shit for you. Or a person could be mediocre and put all his time and energy, or probably all you need is mediocre. Or you might just not be a lawyer, but know how to read some law and fucking, you know what I'm saying, and put all your time, blood, sweat, and tears, 24 hours, staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning, going to the law library, running around, you know what I mean? Keeping your mind, body, and spirit all aligned, you know what I'm saying? And keeping a certain lifestyle and putting all that energy so the universe could see that you deserve to get the fuck out, and something could happen out of that.
When you're serving your sentence, do you ever feel like, oh man, I wish I took that plea deal?
Oh yeah,
maybe around the 5-year or 4-year mark too, because you would have got some good time.
Man, that's the battle. That's the battle, man. Your brain is there to protect you, right? And your brain will have you feel fucked up and just logical, like, you know what I'm saying? It's, we've got our human side and the spirit side is what I kind of call it, you know what I'm saying? That spirit side is what drives you to kind of live your passions and take those chances and stuff like that. Your brain is not what tells you to do that. Your brain tells you, yo, slow down. We comfortable right here. We're chilling right now, right? So it's going to play that shit back, and then it starts fucking with your spirit, right? You know what I mean? Like, you're in a cell, bro. I'm just reliving those moments now. It's like, you're in the cell, bro. It's like, them dark times, it's like, it's so easy for your brain to just go all over the place. And plenty of moments, it was just like, damn, I'm still here. I'm still here. You don't know that it's going to work, but it's just like, I could say what doesn't make it blind faith is the fact that there's enough things to show me that you're finding all these little clues of like, oh, them doing this little bullshit here, this little bullshit there. It was kind of like, yo, just stay in the game, man. Stay in the game, and it's like you're gonna be tested. You're gonna be battle tested. That's like faith tested. You know what I'm saying? And we're not talking about just got faith in the faith in God and stuff like that, but the faith in you, which is also like the faith in the God in you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's up? Do you deserve this shit? There's no success story that didn't come from usually from some type of test in someone's resilience. You know what I'm saying? Determination to get to that other side. You know what I mean? And it's like part of that is just the psychological shit that you get from internally, externally, people throwing shit in your face because they know they can't do what they won't even try to attempt what you did. I don't blame people, whatever the case may be. Fear is real. I mean, this is not, I would never want to relive any of that shit. You know what I'm saying? That shit, you know what I mean? But it did kind of, my core is just like evolved to a different kind of person outside of all them days of just really resilience and fighting and determination and that shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's that battle. That battle is always it's always gonna come in different ways, shapes, or form, man. Regardless of what level of success you're at, there's always gonna be something kind of like try and nudge at your spirit to kind of break you down a little bit, right? And the more you get stronger in just quieting that thing down, the easier it just gets to just kind of like, it's like kind of like brainwashing yourself, right? You know what I mean? Like, I'll fuck that shit, not hearing it. I'm right here, going forward, whatever. And you just start developing that shit. The more it's like working out, right? The more you add something and you actually start seeing results of it, it just makes it builds you more confident to keep on pursuing and saying, like, showing your mind that you can actually do this shit.
Did it ever come across your mind that you would do all of that time and settle in with that thought? Or was there a number in mind where you're like, okay, I'm only going to do X amount because I know I'm going to find a way to get out?
Oh, as far as putting a cap of what that term was, nah. It was just more so I need to get the fuck out of here. I just know I wasn't, in my mind, it was like, I'm not doing this much fucking time. And then that's when, talking about the battle and shit like that, it's like, holy shit, I could fucking, I'm fucking still here. Cause like, you get so much disappointments on your way to getting out. How much motions that I've done put in as I'm learning the law. And I'm, at the moment that you're doing something, you think you know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And then oh no, that's denied. That don't work. Cause it's something somebody told me too. It's like, when a person is drowning, they'll grab a sword by the blade to pull themselves out. You're in desperation mode. You get in desperation mode. And they know how to knock down your freaking pride, your everything, right? You know what I'm saying? Everything's just getting denied. It's like, fuck, is this really gonna be my reality? And most people fold. And when they have your spirit, then they have you. Because now you're not getting up to go to the law library with that hope of something. And this is where the magic was happening. So I just want to shout out everybody that's at Green Haven and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And even some people out in Clinton. But the culture in Green Haven, it was like in the law library, they let you allowed you to congregate with each other. And this is where in those debates, and those things, if you're a person that's willing to heed to what people got to say and stuff, like that's how I learn. As hard-headed I am, I know how to keep an open mind and just I'm coachable. You know what I'm saying? Some people aren't coachable, right? But I'm not a hard-headed person, but yeah, I'm gonna eventually hear what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? And take heed to it. And that's where you're able to formulate how you learn and understand from other people's experience and what they've seen on how this law shit really works. Because everything has its own language, you know what I'm saying, its own science. Like there's things about this podcast that's just beyond just lights and a camera, right? That makes a person successful in podcasting, right? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That you're going to just, like, when you go indulge in it, you'll understand why you're successful how you are. And another person that thinks is just, let me go get a camera and a light and a mic, and I'm going to make this shit happen. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with the law, right? And everything else in the world. Just universal principles, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's where it was happening. So what happens to the person that's so discouraged that doesn't show up to the law library and miss that conversation that he would have probably overheard or been part of that would have cracked something in his case?
He doesn't get out. He stays there.
He stays there. When your spirit is these little things don't happen anymore. A person that working out, right? See work out and stuff like that. It's like a person that just don't see the results. And it's like, oh, fuck it, I ain't gonna do this. But doesn't have the faith, takes his spirit away from working out, right? Doesn't give his body enough time to adjust to the pressure that he's giving it to eventually, you know what I mean? So it starts changing form. It's all the same shit. So it's like, and that's what the faith is, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, man, you can't see it yet, but you got to keep going. And shit, when I tell you you talking about a test of faith, right? You know what I mean? That right there was definitely a test, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's like those picture graphics where it shows the two guys digging for diamonds.
Yes,
and
exactly.
The guy that quits is just one more scoop away from those diamonds, but he quits, so he never gets to it. Yep. You know, it's try or fail 100 times, succeed on the 100th and first time.
Yeah.
That's what it takes. You really never know. That's what I tell people with podcasting. Like,
Exactly.
I can't tell you if you're going to have success in 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, or a year, but you have to keep putting out the content.
100%.
But it's different for everyone.
Yeah, it's
In your case, it was 10 years.
yeah, it's 10 years, right? I mean, some people's cases is 25 years.
Yeah.
Cases is 5 years, right? And it's like kudos to the people that damn for 25 years holding on to that shit. I can't say like, okay, I probably would have been one of them people, or who knows, right? So it's like so many people like in them situations, bro. Like it's just so many, like with the wrongful convictions, actual like, people that's not just wrong, like because I was wrongfully convicted, which is different than actually innocent. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm never gonna come off and try to be like, oh, I wasn't doing shit. You know what I mean? No, I was doing. There's enough people in the world that knows what I was doing. You know
But
what I
it
mean?
wasn't you shouldn't have got that much time.
I shouldn't have
for
got
a
that much time.
nonviolent drug offense.
I shouldn't have got that much time for a nonviolent drug offense. And no, you did not prove me guilty, or was I a major drug trafficker? Nah. You wanted to keep it on the eye and charge me for a sale, possession, do all that shit. Greed is what led them to do what they did. And we know we was getting into that conversation, how that happened with that whole situation, as far as even why they even made this a major drug trafficking case, which is crazy in itself. You know what I mean?
And here's the thing too, is that you had 10 years to fight for this. You had nothing but time to figure out an answer to make this happen.
And what I chose to do at that time.
Not everyone, we were talking off camera, not everyone uses that time wisely.
Absolutely. And it's like if you're everyone has like a baseline, right, of who they are and their character, which is and life experience, you know what I'm saying? And which plays a factor on how a person deals with adversity and deals with pressure. And being an optimistic thinker, I'll try to find a little piece of light in any dark place. If you're not looking for that light, you're not going to find it. So what can you do with 10 years of incarceration? Well, I'm a person that when I was outside, I had no peace of mind, no sleep, no rest, couldn't find time to take care of myself as much as I wanted to. I was in a habitual state of self-destruction. I was on that hamster wheel. I got taken off that hamster wheel. So now what's my excuse now? I could choose to get back on another hamster wheel, start drinking, smoking. Like my last cigarette, like I was running around all day. I was a pack a day smoker. You know what I'm saying? My last cigarette was when I got locked up. I chose not to pick up another cigarette because I always wanted to stop smoking. So why the fuck, like, you know what I mean? With this whole culture shock situation, it's like when you reboot a computer, right? I mean, you could start downloading the same bullshit files that freaking got your computer corrupted the first time. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You done emptied out all the files, got all this space. Now you got all this space in there. Right now, what you want to put on your computer, right? All right, so let me do that. So it's like a cigarette. Oh, the temptation of a cigarette. I mean, it's a lot easier. We was talking off camera. Like it's a lot easier when you're taken out of a situation to not go back and do the same shit again. The advantage of this thing happening, you know what I'm saying? So I was able to reboot and all right, so I'm going to use this time in the meantime. And when I'm telling you, when I jumped on that scale that first day, that shit said 299. I was like, oh, what the fuck? Remember, I used to be in shape when I was younger, you know what I mean? Sports, football, all that kind of stuff, football, wrestling, boxing, and all that shit. I was in shape, you know what I mean? So I know how it feels to be in shape. Lifestyle was different though, right? So I didn't know I lost myself to that degree. And that was the wake-up point, like, holy shit. Then the second wake-up point is like after the blood tests came back and it's like, oh yeah, you pre-diabetic. You know what I mean? Cholesterol is high and all this shit. So it's like, damn, what the fuck? Oh, nah, we're gonna figure this thing out. So it was like, in the meantime, while I'm going to the law library and all that stuff, I had also, I'm a goal-oriented person. I mean, I strive and live off of goals. That's my fuel and passion that I need. If not, then I'm going to just sit and be bouncing off the wall. Like, if I don't got shit to do. That personality trait is what also pushed me to wake up and go to law library, go work out. And these were my things to chase, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't in there hustling. You know what I mean? I thank God, like, several things and people in my life. I mean, with the thousands of people I knew, I just needed a handful of people that, you know, God just knew this is what you need to get by, to keep you at bay, or whatever plan he had, whatever it worked out, however it worked out, I'm here right now, right? You know what I'm saying? But that's what my days consisted of. And between that, you know, you have your laughs and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You know how it is. You're in jail. You know, you're going to have your regular human moments. You know, you got a couple funny people around you, stuff like that. You need that. You need that entertainment, right? You need that lot. You got to still make sure you still feel human, right? You know, you want to still take care of yourself. You don't want to, you know, regardless of where you at, you still got to keep your humanity. You know what I mean? All that shit, put that all in a bundle package is like, that's what allowed for this stuff to happen the way it did. Yeah.
What's it been like getting out of prison? You just got out of prison, you know, almost 2 months ago now.
Yeah.
Or two months exactly.
Yeah, just about 2 months. A little bit after. I mean, I was just happy to just be able to get back to get my life together. So all the ideas, everything, you know, me and my mom talk about this all the time. It was like, this was just boot camp for when I get out. You know what I mean? These lessons, how I start my morning, you know, how I end my morning. These little things is what keeps things balanced for stuff to keep on manifesting and prospering as it got me out of prison. Once you start changing these certain habits, when you start changing certain habits, you start getting different results, right? If I don't continue to work out and stuff like that, I mean, I know how I look at 300 pounds, right? You know what I mean? I know how I look. I know how I feel. Everything. I'm not going to forget that. You know what I mean? So that's enough fuel to like, oh, shit. Hold on. Been a couple of days. Hold up. Let me go back down and do a push-up. Let me figure it out. Let me know what is priority in my life. You know what I mean? And just to stay centered. You know what I'm saying? Those moments to yourself, the time to like, all right, just be still. Have a quiet moment. That's where the magic happens, right? You have enough of those moments in prison and you're using that shit, you're utilizing it for what it is. That's when you realize, like, oh, this is where I get all the answers at. And it was so crazy, right? And I knew I wasn't crazy when other people would say that, like, oh, shit, all right, so good. We all part of the same universe. There'll be moments that, as I'm thinking for the ideas, and I forgot the scientific word for it, but there's like a trance that you're in from when you're sleeping to waking up. And at that point is where it's like how I could explain it in my own words. It's like all your energy is focused in that place. Like once you start waking up, your senses got to get turned on. So all your energy is basically getting distributed throughout your whole body. You got to focus. I got your eyes, your ears, what you're touching, you know what I'm saying? But when you get in that, importance of meditative and stuff like that, you start seeing shit clear. If you quiet the mind though, right? Because that could be a place where everyone's like driving themselves crazy and shit like that. But when you quiet that mind, it's like, oh shit. So there was moments when I would be sleeping and you just wake up, but you're still kind of like sleeping. And at that point you realize, and everybody goes through this shit, so that's how I know it's real. You start really getting all the answers to questions that you had that you couldn't figure out because you was getting distracted. Probably not even consciously knowing that you're being distracted, but you're doing shit. And so by the time you wake up, you start losing these things, right? You start losing like, damn, what the fuck was that shit? I just had the answer to that. You know what I mean? You start losing. Sometimes you keep it, sometimes you lose it. So what I would do, I would keep a pen and paper next to my bed. Because now I'm conscious about this shit. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm conscious about it. Like, oh, this is a fucking pattern. Like, damn. Because you tell yourself, like, oh, I'm going to remember that. Like, oh, shit. Oh, wow. By the time you wake up, stretch, go take a piss, it's like you done had 300 thoughts, 3,000 thoughts already since then. And you just already forgot about that thought. You pay attention to yourself. I mean, when a person pays attention to yourself, you really realize this is everybody. So what I used to do when it's really shit is, it's crunch time. I got to, like, these answers that I'm getting from the ether, source, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, when you're in that stage, I'm like, no, I gotta write these shits down. So I would scribble, you know what I'm saying, something to kind of give me a notation of like to the answer, like, oh yeah, boom, boom, boom. Being conscious in the kind of an unconscious state, like, you know what I'm saying. So you're still awake a little bit because you just don't want to wake up all the way. I'm noticing the more you wake up, the more you turn these senses on, the more you start thinking about other stuff, all that should start disappearing. It's like kind of how you forget your dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're in a dream, you're like, oh shit, this is live. You're in it, and it's like, you start waking up like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying?
Was that real? What happened?
Yeah, was that real? Like, oh damn, what part? I remember something. Like if you're trying to reiterate what happened in your dream, you start missing pieces of it because you know what I mean. So, and there's scientific terms to all this shit. I just don't know the scientific terms, but you know what I'm saying. But there is. So it's like these are the times of magic happening, right? This is the important parts of having that quiet time. I don't care if it's before you go to sleep. I don't care if it's just in a moment during the day. But just like, you got to shut off the noise. You got to give yourself that time. These are things that I'm holding on to for dear life because this stuff that people don't know is important, but that changes everything. This taking care of your body is beyond just looking good. I mean, you're getting the blood flowing to the brain, hormones is moving around. You know what I'm saying? You shifting things going on. Then it's like, you know how they say it's your mental, physical, and spiritual. When these things become aligned, a lot of people don't even know their best version of themselves. It don't matter how good you are. You don't got these shits aligned. You don't know what's like your real best version. You know what I'm saying? And that's the shit. Is like, all the other stuff is just noise. I mean, okay, yeah. I don't think that success won't find me if I'm doing all these things. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't got to chase the shit. Just take care of yourself, right? You know what I mean? You got to do those checkmark things because what also happens as success finds you, a person will lose the shit as they lose themselves as well. And it's like these principalities, I done read enough self-help books and come out now and seen, you know, my whole algorithm is set up in a certain way, just helping to keep me focused. You know what I mean? So it's like to know like, okay, there is a consistent understanding of all this. And mind you, I'm in there, like I must have finished reading the Bible 8 times. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like taking that plus the self-help books and I understand these principles that governs how the world operates and how a person is supposed to operate. I understand the selfish reason of being a good person to the world, the benefits you get out of it, being that kind of person versus just thinking for the moment and just doing for yourself. You get what I'm saying? And you know, who really average person? I mean, I admire people that didn't have to go through what I went through, or didn't have this instilled in them for years, like growing up. So it's just part of them. Just tap into themselves and find that truth. Like that's shit. I mean, I can't even compete with that. I had to go to prison. You get what I'm saying? I had to go to prison for 10 years to really like, all right, you like he's like, guys like, yo, man, you fucking hard-headed as motherfucker, bro. Like, we're gonna sit your ass down. You know what I mean? You won't get it because you got like, it's like how the world would tell me, like they know I'm a good person. Even the fucking judge doing what he's doing. It's like you could tell, you know, when person's like not a piece of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know I'm not a piece of shit, but it's just like, man, you put yourself in this situation. And me putting myself in the situation allowed for them to do the bullshit they did to me, right? This is where some type of level of accountability has to come in. And if you keep on trying to justify how you're the victim in everything, you're liable to do the same shit that you're not taking accountability for, to even allow for this shit to happen. Yeah, you didn't do the crime, but why the fuck you hanging out with them dumbass freaking people that's doing shit that, you know what I'm saying, that XYZ, that's the sloppy, they're messy, or just into stuff that you ain't supposed to be into. You wouldn't be walking on that street at that time. So it's like if a person is willing to look in the mirror, it just kind of helps to just be like, all right. Because at the end of the day, who cares about your excuses, right? When shit hits the fan, it hits the fan. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, all right, what I gotta do for myself, right? You know what I'm saying? Let me not try to convince myself and try to convince the world. That's what people be trying to do, like trying to convince people of some shit. And what really matters, like, all right, if I gotta hit an ultimate goal, all right, so let me not do this, X, Y, Z for whatever. And that's really all that matters, that, you know, that real, true, genuine, like, all right, accountability for whatever it is that I did or should have done or should not have done. You know what I'm saying? To change the trajectory of the stuff going on.
What are your plans for the future? Where do you see yourself?
I see myself successful. I still want all the shit that I want when I was a little kid. I do. It's just the road that I'm gonna take there is gonna be, it's non-negotiable of what I know I can't do to get there. You know what I'm saying? So from the path from here to that place, I mean, I'm kind of just leaving it up to God. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I got a story now. I was telling you, I mean, just last week, I just signed a freaking modeling contract, right? Like, I don't know, like, you know, and they trying to get me into doing acting classes and stuff like that. That's just like one of those things that's like, all right, I mean, hey, listen, God, whatever is going on, you know what I'm trying to do. You know, my heart is in the right place. And I'm fully confident that based on what I've experienced with him, you know, that he's just going to continue carrying me on. You know what I mean?
What would you tell your younger self before you ever started selling drugs? What would you say to him with the knowledge you have now?
Listen. Stop listening to yourself, right? You know, stop listening to yourself. You know, have people trying to really guide you the right direction. You don't know it all. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really, like, in a nutshell, hoping that my hard-headed self would listen to my older self, right? You know what I mean? But if my hard-headed young self was to listen to my older self, there was so many opportunities and things that could have used my same talents that I was basically squandering doing the bullshit, that could have left me with doors and people that I was willing to see, people that seen stuff in me that I didn't see in myself. You know, sometimes we don't even see our own greatness. And so we're just like, okay, cool. And, you know, when you're younger, it's more like your peers and stuff. You know, you go through phases, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, this is what looks cool, right? You're not standing, the people that you're probably chasing is really at no level that you're at. Mentally, with wisdom, like, you know, they're not at your level. And they'll even discourage you and make you feel smaller than you really are, because they see at what level you're at. You know what I mean? Peer pressure shit. You know what I mean? That's, you know what I mean? So it's like, if my older self could tell myself, scratch all that noise, listen, X, Y, Z, boom, 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 and have that understanding, like, oh shit, okay. Because, like, you know, like, I was one of those kids, like, a lot of times growing up, you know what I mean? I felt like out of place. I felt out of place, you know? And it was like, damn, why am I not? It's like people gravitate to me, but it still was like some type of disconnection. But people would gravitate to me. I can't make sense of that shit then, you know what I mean? Now, it's like, all right, I mean, the results are showing that obviously the way I'm thinking and do things is different. But now I know it's not that bad thing to be different. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's a blessing in that. And now it's like, it's like, yo, I mean, there's always one person on the stage and thousands of people in the crowd. What were you designed for? I mean, some things you just, you know, it's your calling. You could try, like, so many times I try to just, like, you know, one point that, you know, the party shit was going bad. Like, fuck, I'm not leaving this shit alone. And things just end up finding you to be at a certain stage. I mean, I couldn't just get a regular freaking drug, like, just get caught with a regular drug offense. No, I had to be on every news station, you know what I mean, as a fucking major drug trafficker for the, like, you can't hide from sometimes you just can't hide from the light that's bound to find you. You can't hide from it, you know what I mean? So it's like, all right, It's me. Can my younger self ever understand that? And it's at the point you see the light in other people, right? Some people, like, you know what I mean, in jail, like, you know, being in prison. My bad, I know I'm just rambling. So
No,
like,
keep going, yeah.
yeah, like being in prison, it's like I started to identify the lights in people that didn't understand the light that they had in themselves. I see them, you know, the wanting to find understanding, all the key element parts that they need to be successful, but all this external factors have them believing a false sense of reality. You know, and it's like, damn, I see that shit. So like some people I was determined to really like kind of like align their way of thinking to, is like, listen, look, see this shit. See this, whatever, yo, you see XYZ. And someone would take heed. Like I got my boy, yo, shout out to my boy Black, young kid. He was one of those kids, but he was, you know what I mean? He was a kid that he had two sides he had an opportunity to see good and bad in his life, you know what I mean? It's not like his parents was like, oh, fucked or whatever, but he's in the street. So that his external factors, he was with the shits because that's, you know what I mean? That's his normal. He's not like he's a pushover, nothing like that, but he was able to have some type of level of wisdom and had something grounding him with his parents and stuff like that. But he was one that just was seeking understanding, seeking knowledge. So he was a person that started reading certain books that I was reading and looking at the same doing the same playbook. It's not something I created. This had been beginning of time, all these little principles and stuff like that, right? You know what I mean? Yielded results in his life. Got his work release, got out. He's seen how I'm writing. He's understanding the science of how I'm writing, and now he's emulating it and doing that. The same shit I would do, right? But it took me seeing like he had that in him. Now he sees that it's not like I started him off of nowhere, but I helped him to open that to see what the power of that is. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, but I know before we didn't get into yet the stuff that's going on now with the case. You know what I mean? As far as with the corruption and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I don't know if you want to get into that or.
Do you want to talk about it, or is it?
Nah, yeah, I definitely don't mind talking about it. You know, it's all public information at this point and stuff like that. All right, so back to why this case became a case that I got 51 years to life. So before I was incarcerated, like most drug cases, they go to the civil court. Just knowing anything dealing with money, you go to civil court. A drug case usually has two sides to it. The money side, obviously, you know, money getting made, assets, and your actual criminal crime that you did. So before you get arrested, they go to the civil court in a proceeding which is called an ex parte proceeding, meaning that it's only one party going in compared to someone putting a lien on somebody's property for a reason, or someone wants to put a judgment on somebody. They go express their case to a judge, and the judge would be like, all right, we'll subpoena this person to court. You know what I mean? That whole process is ex parte because it's only one party's X'd out of it, right? In that situation, they were saying that it was and it's just evaluation. It's evaluation, not dealt on hardcore evidence. That in 9 months, in a 9-month investigation, whatever, that they're saying that I made $324,000. And so the judge was like, okay, cool. And then I was just on some, the street value of this. Oh, this phone call made seems like this. And if he did this times this and that, they come up with the number. That's, you know what I mean? It's not no hardcore evidence or nothing like that. So they got the judgment to basically seize, in this criminal case, when it comes to arresting me and stuff like that, seize enough assets to equate, that's currency and whatever other assets, to equate the value of $324,000. The next day, they swarm in to make all the arrests. You know, that's kind of what I was talking about before when I was driving and all this kind of stuff, right? When doing that, they went through a series of residences in Suffolk County. Ain't find much of money or nothing like that. Nothing to equate to this $320,000, right? But also in their investigation, they was able to basically get a tip-off of a house in Queens, which they kind of tied to my co-defendant. But, it was part of my case. They used all this evidence against me in trial. But like they said in trial, which I had my lawyer say, there was no evidence to say that this thing, like I ever stepped foot in that apartment in Queens. They go inside the apartment in Queens. They find approximately like $700,000. On paperwork, it's like $650,000, right? Now, remember, they was only allowed to take $324,000 in assets. So the brilliant plan that they came up with was that they're going to go back to the civil court and submit a supplemental motion, which just means adding on to the original motion. And what they did was they used evidence from a case that was where people was arrested previous to my case, and used their evidence and put in that motion to say, "Oh, Your Honor, in furtherance of our investigation, more evidence was found that this case is actually associated with these people are associated with my case." So now, mind you, the civil court, the judge ain't keeping tabs, investigating these guys' files or whatever. He's just seeing what's ever in front of his face. So it's not even on the judge part. You know what I mean? His job is to see what's in front of his face. No one's opposing it. It's not like it's in the civil court ex parte. I'm not part of it. So it's like, okay, cool. Just regular routine stuff, right? And they say in that motion, because of all this other evidence that they unraveled, that the value is not $324,000. It's $731,340, giving them enough space to seize the $650,000. And also not just to seize the $650,000, so they could also to try to, because it's outside the jurisdiction in Queens, to say that this money that was found in Queens is actually money that was made in Long Island. Meanwhile, that money has nothing to do with Suffolk County at all. But that was the only way they was able to associate that and tie that. Because they doing that, now the narrative has to be sold to equate $650,000. And that's when the narrative that this has to be a major drug trafficking case that's what manifested, that's what created this whole drug trafficking, big drug dealer situation. To put more substance to that whole situation on this narrative, February 24th, I was locked up. They didn't air my case on the news. And mind you, every news station, I was even on Telemundo. This shit was crazy, bro. Until April. And reason being is, and that's how I knew like they was lying to the courts and stuff like that. So the judges was probably looking like, all right, so where's the rest of these people that you're saying this big drug case, right? So they kind of like, I guess they were trying to make it seem like, oh no, we're trying to lock everybody up and stuff like that, until they probably realized it's all bullshit. They didn't put my case on air until April. And that wasn't until another drug trafficking case was, a bunch of people got arrested on another drug trafficking case. And when Thomas Spoda, who was the DA at the time, and also the DA around the time when the Gilgo Beach investigation was occurring, that he didn't allow the feds to come investigate the case. And it wasn't until this current administration that allowed for that to happen. He was under federal investigation. The police chief, James Burke, had already got arrested, right? So he was trying to do whatever he had to do to gain public confidence. So everyone had, it's like, you ever read the book, what is it, the Monte Cristo book?
I watched the movie, The Count of Monte Cristo.
The Count of Monte Cristo. Yeah. Right, so I don't know if the movie's anything like the book, but it's like everyone had their motives to do the bullshit, to kind of knock that kid down. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? The DA was trying to gain public confidence, so he's like, yo, fuck it, I could use this shit to make it seem like I just did a big drug case, right? You had detectives that was looking for promotions, and this money, this so-called only $650,000 got whatever. You had other people which is a big deal in Suffolk County around that time. I just recently found out that the Narcotics Bureau was being like the DA also was being told to step down because they were misappropriating seized assets. So now you got all this money. So now you have all these people that got skin in the game that's getting these bonus checks and all that stuff. So everyone has a motive. It's great. I'm thinking about all this shit right now as we speak in real time. It has the motive for this shit to happen the way it did, right? And little old me is the one in the middle of all this shit, right? So now they arrest everybody. This press conference, right? I'm on a press conference, my fault. So what they do in the press conference is they have a table with the money and jewelry, right? That's part of my case. And the other case that I said that they arrested was dealing with some people done died off of fentanyl and all kinds of stuff. So they got they got their drugs on the table and stuff like that. And what they did was they put a big canvas of my co-defendant, a big canvas of just me, and another canvas of the pyramid of the other case. So visually, it looks like we are supplying, this is the chain that's supplying this case right here that led to all these people dying and all this kind of stuff. But verbally, they made sure to sell it. They made sure to say it's two major drug trafficking cases. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Which now what I know now, and God bless her soul, my sister had passed away, but she had called and was complaining about that. But legally, what I know now is the reason I probably can't, nobody could find this press conference on the DA website or the thing. And if anyone could find this thing, please let me know. Send it to me. My website, BaptisteStory.com. Send it to Ian, please, so we could, you know what I mean? So you can see what I'm talking about. So basically it was a libel suit. So, little law, legal 101. Defamation of character doesn't necessarily mean just all what somebody says, but also what type of presentation they try to give. You know what I mean? So you could draw a picture of somebody and try to give it the idea that, oh, this is what happened. No, that's a libel suit. It doesn't have to be verbal all the time. So now that I know that now from taking my paralegal courses, I feel that that's why this press conference can't be found anywhere. You know what I mean? And that just shows intent. You know what I mean? If you why would you even take it down if you wasn't doing nothing wrong? You get what I'm saying? So this story and narrative of this major drug trafficking case all stems from money and having to find an excuse to seize this money. So greed led to me having 51 years to life.
Crazy.
And the only reason I know that, this whole narrative that I was able to break down in a nutshell is, while I was incarcerated, now, like I said, this was my rec, law library, just like that. So anytime, even between time that I'm waiting for answers and motions, I'm just trying other shit, you know what I mean? So I read oh shit, I might have grounds to, basically the money that they seized in Long Island, I might have grounds to get that money back. Because what I learned was that if there isn't any evidence that they don't need for trial, then they're not supposed to hold on to it. So in my trial, I forgot to tell you this, they didn't use any physical money in my trial. They used only pictures. Now, I told you about the misappropriating funds. That means that money already got spent. They did whatever they did with that money already. You know what I'm saying? That shit done paid for private school. That shit done went to the strip club. Whatever that money did, they already spent that money and only had pictures of the money. So I was like, okay, oh, listen, technically, I need to get that money back because it was not used as evidence in my trial. And it was like, they wrote me back, and I was like, and I wasn't wrong. It was like, yeah, but however, they have a lien on it because of the civil proceeding. So this is where I'm starting to learn about all this civil shit and the criminal stuff going on, right? Because it's still pending. Basically, the judgment is still pending because I'm still on the appeal phase, still fighting my case, right? So I was like, you know what? I'm going to see if there's any technicalities, and I'm going to foil my asset forfeiture file from the DA office. So it's 342 pages, like $34, whatever. So as I'm skimming through this is where I find the motion, the supplemental motion that said all these people's names on this case. So I was like, what the fuck is going on right now? You know, I had to look at that shit like 10 times over, make sure I wasn't bugging. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have my peoples help me out. Because like I said, I ain't making no crazy money. I'm not hustling in there. It cost me like $1,000 to get all my records. 4,000 pages of records from the DA office and the courts. Even my co-defendants, you know what I'm saying? I got everything. To my knowledge, right? I got 4,000 pages, I should say, of records that I didn't even know existed on my case, right? And as I'm going through it, I'm able to, it took this much pages out of 4,000, digging all over the whatever, breaking it down and all that shit, like real paralegal and investigating work, you know what I'm saying? To put that narrative and figure out the storyline and see why they did what they did in my whole entire case. This was only just a year before. I got that paperwork just a year before I got released. And is now why right now, currently as we speak, I'm waiting for a decision on those motions. So the two motions that came from that stem from that was, or I'm sorry, let me take it back on the stuff that we were talking about before, right? In the paperwork, right, I tell you the supplemental that had the people's names on it, there was a little hurdle because it wasn't signed. So, you know, anything that's not signed is technically, it's just ink on paper, right? So now I'm contacting the courts, like, hey, do you happen to have a copy of the motion, this motion right here, send a photocopy? I need a signed copy of it and stuff like that. It's like, they got to be like, oh, no, we don't have it, but, the DA has their own files. You could try to contact them. And, contact them. Everything, keep everything professional, man. You know what I mean? That's the other thing. They hate that shit. They want you to get belligerent and all that stuff, man. Keep it classy all the time, man. You know what I'm saying? All that other stuff is what they expect from you, so they could just throw it in the face and be like, oh, you see, look at him. He's acting like this and all that. Excuse me, hey, how you doing? Whatever. Yeah, do you have a copy? I was informed to contact the DA office. Do you have a signed copy of this motion? Sent them a photocopy of it, whatever. What came out of that was the person's name on who allegedly wrote this motion, drafted this motion, who is the chief bureau, the bureau chief of the asset forfeiture department in Suffolk County, wrote me back personally and said that he never filed a supplemental ex parte motion. Basically the motion that has the other people's names on there. When he wrote that, I guess he wasn't aware that in the court files that there's a motion in there which he's asking the judge to confirm the decision that was made on the supplemental ex parte motion. And anything filed with the courts there's no, it's not signed. That's all signed under the penalty of perjury, and it's official documents when it comes to the court records. That point is when I started, now it's time for me to put these motions in. Because now it's like, why are you telling me, and this is what we're waiting for the answers for, I'm like, why are you telling me that you never submitted this motion, but why are you asking the judge to confirm his decision on a motion that you never filed? And now there's layers in it now, right? Because now going through all this, now I see a narrative going on and looking at all these papers. Not only in the supplemental was it just that there was names, part of it, in order to have grounds to seize this money. They also mentioned in that motion that they plan on presenting all this evidence in front of a grand jury, which led to my indictment. Now, for people that don't know, the grand jury proceeding itself is an ex parte proceeding, because technically you're not involved until certain things happen that you could be part of the grand jury only for a part that you're only going to be there. You're not going to be there to see the whole grand jury. So that's also an ex parte situation. So we don't know in detail everything that was said in that grand jury. But I have reason to believe, based on their own paperwork, based on their what they said, and a motion that he tried to say he didn't do, but actually the judge to confirm the decision on it, that they plan and present they presented evidence from another case to the grand jury that led to my indictment. Now, how this thing goes full circle, we have to keep this narrative that this guy is a major drug trafficker, now based on not only the civil side of things to take the money, now also the indictment that says that he's a major drug trafficker based on all this evidence that's here, and make him look like he has a drug ring and all this kind of stuff going on. Currently waiting to see what they have to say about that. Now, I was telling you before, right? 2 motions came out of that evidence. Civil motion, basically saying there's fraud on the court to seize this money. You lied to the court. Technically, you didn't lie to me. You know what I mean? These are like the whole legalese, right? You didn't lie to me, you lied to the court. You went to the court and said that these people, whatever was part of this case, that's why we could seize this money. And the criminal side, which is a 440.10 motion. Remember, I got my sentence reduced off of a 440.20 motion, which is challenging the sentencing, but this is challenging the conviction. Basically telling the courts that we have to review the indictment to see if they actually did what they said they were going to do. And there's enough supporting evidence to show that they did. Remember, I told you, 7 prior felonies. Who has 7 priors? What kind of mistake happened that you have that in my paperwork that you sworn under the penalty of perjury that I had 7 prior felonies? Who are you talking about? You get what I'm saying? So that's just one of the series of things that shows that, okay, this supplemental was filed. There's other information on that supplemental motion that, based on all these other records that I see in my FOIL, on my documents, that happened. Like, example, I ever had a legitimate company doing the promotions. So in that civil motion, it's a lawsuit against me and my corporation, Anthony Glover Promotions, basically saying that that drug money is what fueled my thing. And I was telling you how that was a pure distinction between that, and they know that shit because they looked at you see my records, you see bank statements of money getting wired to me from legitimate sources based on business that occurred, you know what I'm saying? From these clubs, nightclubs. Okay, at the end of the night, they're not just gonna pay you cash off of the bar tab or what happens. So if a bar makes $50,000, $60,000, there's things, expenses at XYZ and whatever my percentage is and whatever. So if it's 10,000 or whatever, 8,000 and stuff like that, they have these transactions going to my bank. They have all that shit to say this is actually, it's not just a cash business and whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's legitimate to my business to say, all right, this $20,000 withdrawal or deposit or whatever the case may be. Oh, you see, that's what they do. They take their drug money and try to wash it. Fuck all that. I'm doing freaking business here. You know what I'm saying? So now, whatever, the fraud on that side, and then the conviction and the whole whatever 440.10, the whole thing with the conviction. You know what I'm saying? On the criminal side, saying that you use this information, you put this information on a grand jury. So April 2nd, they were supposed to respond to the civil motion. They didn't oppose it. They didn't say nothing about my direct accusations of them committing fraud, which is like, you don't just allow somebody to say something like that and don't defend yourself, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's a big stepping stone right there. You know, on the criminal side, they opposed it, and the only thing they did to oppose it was basically trying to use some type of technicality to try to say, which is completely wrong, because people do this all the time. The evidence from the civil motion, I can't utilize it on this criminal side, which is not true. It's all newly discovered evidence that we didn't know about. And the fact that you said you plan on using this civil information in my criminal case is basically you made the connection from that. It makes sense, right? You know what I mean? You made the connection of all the civil evidence end my criminal case. You know, and everything else was like, oh, it's absurd to make these accusations and stuff like that. But I mean, the absurdness of it is that you have this in your files, right? I mean, is these accusations something that I created, or is it something that's coming out of your own documents and files? You know what I mean? And like, I just hope, as all this is transpiring, that they actually could see that my beef is not with the current administration. The DA that's in there right now, you got nothing to do with this. You know what I'm saying? Thomas Boda and Police Chief Burke and whatever his minions that was around at the time that these guys was in office, that probably had some blood on their hands, are accountable for the situation. Now, one time did I really like say anything like, yo, oh yeah, what you guys are doing right now. There's a clear distinction on it, but sometimes people to be too clouded on, you know, that talking about that human side of the brain, right? And can't really see like, I mean, there's no beef here. Like, I'm not, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is straight legal formality. I understand how this legal stuff works. This is not something about, it's personally my life. I mean, I didn't carry the 10 years of just freaking holding grudges or nothing like that. Same way I was smile when people come see me on the visit, on just the optimistic, leaning on the optimistic. I mean, that's how you keep your sanity, bro. Like, you gotta kind of, people think you're crazy, but bro, yeah, I guess so. If it's crazy to stay positive in the negative shit, I mean, get crazy, because that's what's gonna help you to get through whatever you gotta get through. You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean? So let it be crazy. Fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, and let the results be what it is. You know what I mean? That little piece of light is enough. I forgot who said it, but there was like, you could be in a dark room and all you need to do is flick like one match to light that whole shit up. You know what I mean? So hold on to that. But you're not gonna, as much as you would, the expectation. So people start getting defensive when they expect it to be a certain way. And you're just sitting here like, you know what I mean? There's like people that wasn't here for the 10 years. And I understand it's kind of fucking with their conscience and their soul and shit like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Don't know how to approach it now. Because, I mean, people thought I was dead. I mean, almost literally, right? People thought I was dead. And it was an opportunity to see that, you know what I mean? It's probably the only time you'll really get to see like how people act when you're dead and you're alive to see the shit.
Absolutely. Well, Anthony, I appreciate you coming on the show today, man. You're a great speaker.
Thank you.
And I wish you the best with the conclusion of these cases and everything working out in your future.
Absolutely appreciate it.